Welcome back, everybody. Hope that you are still here with us, or maybe there are some people just joining. In that case, welcome to the show. This is the JSCC coverage. You can see on your screen there. Hans Niemann and Christopher Yu is the matchup for today, the All-American matchup, and certainly two players that are young, talented, and improving every day, Daniel.
They are indeed, and as they begin their first game of the 5-minute portion, I mean, Christopher's improvement. We've talked about Hans. We all know of Hans's achievements, but I don't remember how many GM norms Christopher has, but it really isn't a matter of whether he's going to become a GM, but when and how strong of a GM he's going to be. And he's also from the Bay Area like me, so I've known Christopher for so many years. I've got some stories, and I can attest firsthand to his incredible talent, work ethic, and well-rounded style. He positionally mature, end games are good. He might be young in years, but he is old in a good way in his playing style. No obvious holes in his game. But let's jump in. Hans with the white pieces in the first game.
Yeah, and these guys are starting off. We just see a Nimzo here. Knight G to E2, though, instead of the more conventional Knight F3 is probably the first thing that I look at when I see this position. Knight F3 probably a lot more standard for people, but Knight G2 wants to say, okay, Bishop takes C3. I'm always covering that with the other knight.
Exactly, and you can potentially take back with a knight. Okay, we have a symmetrical position here. Now, generally, I've read that these positions are slightly better for white because that knight from E2 has the eventual potential to go to F4 immediately, because if knight takes D4, then there is this bishop takes H7 check idea. Mm-hmm. And black will end up with a slightly weakened king side and a very weak pawn. Christopher with H6, that's a very nice move, though, because if you drop the bishop to H4, you get forked. And if you take on F6, well, that doesn't seem too impressive. I think Hans may have slightly overlooked that, probably still equal.
Yeah, maybe a little hasty with Knight F4. You were mentioning Knight F4 as an eventual idea, but perhaps Knight F4, when he did it, was a little quick, because here it looks like with both d-pawns disappearing, you can't really hate, the two bishops here that much, I feel.
No, and Hans with a very tricky move. I think he's gearing up for queen d3, and that's definitely not something you want to allow, because the knight's going to snap off that pawn with a crushing attack. Christopher has to introduce some prophylactic measures here. And what form will they take? Maybe g6 preemptively. It is a little bit weakening to make that move, but you could follow up with fianchettoing your bishop on g7.
Yep, g6 is one of those moves that is probably good, but it always feels a little uneasy to play it.
Yeah,
and he does do it, but after a bit of calculation, just to make sure you're not blundering everything to a beautiful tactic right in game one.
That's right, and queen d3 can always be met with bishop f5. You don't even have to permit the possibility of knight takes g6, as Hans going queen to d2, reinforcing sacrificial ideas. Actually, knight g6 might be a semi-threat here. So I'm Christopher. First of all, bishop takes b2 has to be calculated. Second of all, maybe you play it safe and drop the bishop back to g7. Maybe queen g5. He goes for it. Let's see what Hans has cooked up here. I don't see anything specific here, Aman.
I feel like sometimes in chess with your opponents, a little bit of a game of chicken. Like knight takes g6 might be an idea here. Queen d2 is Hans saying, yeah, I don't really know if it's an idea, but you worry about it. You calculate it. You let it bother you. And then Christopher is maybe calling his bluff, says bishop takes b2. Yeah, okay, you calculate it. I don't want to calculate. You
sir, what exactly do you have in mind against bishop takes b2? And now bishop, loot in hand, drops back to g7. Okay, pawn up, but Hans, he's got a good knight on d5. Now, clearly there's insufficient compensation. See, now I started the southern accent. Now I can't stop. What have I done?
You might never stop.
It might never stop. Yeah, it's almost like I'm in North Carolina. Now, queen can come out to g5 here and introduce some pressure on that f4 knight. That move just looks good. Oh, listening.
I like queen g5 a lot. I also like knight on d4. Generally speaking, it looks like it can't be dislodged, supported by the bishop. So loving Christopher Yu's position here. He's also got the two bishops. So even if you lose a pawn back, I feel like black's a little bit better than equal.
Yeah, this is troublesome for Hans. Rook b5. But he blunders knight d4, and then knight f3 is going to be a fork. This is an opening disaster for Hans, and Christopher 2 seconds later.
Yeah.
Boom goes the dynamite. This is completely losing. Hans has he was banking on some sort of a discovered attack, discovered check against the queen, but the queen itself, very common thing to miss, right, Aman? I mean, when you give a discovered check, the very same piece that's getting sort of discovered takes the piece that's delivering the check.
Right.
And this might just be over.
And
not a good start for Hans.
If people didn't know, a thing or two about Christopher Yu, there's a little something special about him, and that he is a goddamn beast at puzzles. So if you leave a tactic hanging in a position, if there's a guy to find it, it's going to be Christopher Yu.
Yeah, and Hans no slouch himself in Puzzle Rush. They've both gone very, very far, but Christopher is absolutely next level. Absolutely next level. And I played a recent game against him in the U.S. Championship qualifier that was online a couple months ago. He beat me. His opening preparation is another thing that is often overlooked. Christopher's opening prep is absolutely insane. He seems to have ideas everywhere. He knows a lot of theory in all of his main openings, and it's very hard to get an advantage against him with the white pieces.
Ooh,
so
Bishop H3.
Oh, yeah, it's another tactic, and Hans reeling here from this blunder. Bishop H3 exploits the double pin.
Yeah, kind of a
double pin here, and Christopher's going to see it. Bishop F3 also possible here, but Bishop F5, he decides to play it safe. I mean, it's completely winning in any way.
Yep. Yeah, doesn't want to complicate things.
Which is an approach. Oh man, the rook C8, rook F8. I feel like maybe he could have even taken an F4, gone Bishop E5. But again, play it like a Russian schoolboy. No need to complicate.
Exactly.
Consolidate. Queen F6, Queen E5. You were waiting for the reference to the Russian.
Waiting for the name.
Well, okay. Play it like Karamnik. But what to do now? I guess Queen F6, Queen E5 was an idea to transfer the queen into the center, neutralize White's only active piece, which is really the queen.
Mm-hmm.
You could also play H5. There it is. Okay, I've done that several times. I'm going to pat myself on the back. Queen D8. And now rook E8 is coming. Nope, he goes knight F to D5, preventing the rook from moving.
Stubborn.
That was stubborn, and Hans, incredibly resilient player. I've faced this so many times. Like a lot of young, talented juniors, Hans does not die easy. We can see 100%. That here. Bishop E6 probably is winning.
And it's often a good strategy early on in long matches to, I mean, even if you're behind, let's say like Hans is here, he blundered early. You usually want to play on the first game for a while until it's very, very clear, and just get a feel for your opponent. How's his conversion? How are his tactics? He didn't play Bishop takes H3 earlier. You maybe test his confidence and just see how he converts the position. So I totally agree with playing on here for a number of reasons, but that being one of them.
For sure. And Christopher with an interesting idea. I'm very surprised he did not play Bishop E6. That would have forced the trade of another pair of minors. He is going directly for Hans's throat here with the queen dropping into E1. He could follow that up with Bishop E4, essentially going for checkmate. And Hans may have to play a move like Queen B4, but a queen trade here is a disaster.
Yeah, an interesting knight D6. Looks like Queen E1 and Bishop E5 might follow.
Ooh.
And then if not knight D6, as you mentioned, Queen E1 and Bishop E4 may happen. So yeah, you calling it Queen B4.
What about takes and Rook B8? Oh, then A4. It's not entirely over.
Because 3 pieces on the B file. You can't get
all 3 pieces that he has. And Rook B8, A4, you can't go A6 because of knight takes A6. So you can't directly win the piece, but Christopher instead using the bishop to harass the knight. And I would just still a game.
Yep. Keep in mind F7 also F8. Loose.
Yeah, but Bishop F8, and then once the B4 knight moves, you can already play A6 and maybe go after that A4 pawn. The time situation, a little bit worrisome for Christopher. He spent a lot of time on that B5 move.
Yep.
So you've got to be careful.
Knight A6, Rook B6, Knight takes A7. Just put all the pieces on the A file.
Yep, transfer all of them. Wait, what about Rook C8 there?
Yeah, wasn't Rook C8 winning?
Am I missing something? Rook C8, I guess he had to play Knight D5, but
certainly a good transition.
Christopher leaving a little bit of chances, a little bit of a faster win on the table, but it seems like he's never let this position go. He's still in control. Yeah. Bishop D6 is possible. Idea Bishop F7, Bishop B5. Circumscribing the knight, but King G7.
I really think bishop e6 needs to appear on the board.
It's
It covers both
elementary
knights.
move, and for some reason, Christopher just seems to be a little bit unconfident in it in his conversion here. But again, this is still completely winning. Eventually, he's going to have some sort of a tactic that wins a piece. Bishop d6, knight c6, and then takes in rook a2.
G3 should be hanging in. Knight c6 is rather forced here, as it doesn't have anywhere else to go.
Nope. Hans resigns. And a good, solid effort by Christopher. One could argue he had, slightly more accurate moves, but again, never releasing the win, and his opening preparation already showing through. 1-0, as Christopher wins the first one with black.
Yep, good stuff so far. It's the first game is often the jittery one for both players, as we see early mistakes from Hans to be in that position, followed by maybe not the best conversion by Christopher, but it looks like the correct result was had in the end.
Indeed, and they have a sideline Rai Lopez, a line that I know Christopher likes. This 5d4 opens up the center. The knight frequently comes into d5 early, and black has to be accurate to equalize, but I think d6 here should lead to essential equality, but clearly Christopher is following his preparation. Queen takes c5, bishop d6, though. I think maybe he's going for a tiny advantage, queen back.
Yeah, this is weirdly enough, this is a line that I've actually prepared for a lot of students, like around like 1800 to 2000 type. It's just like one of those things where, hey, if you're playing a guy like Hans, GM, total class, he's going to be able to get to this position. But if there's any mistakes along the way, it could get a lot worse for black. So you're looking at maybe like the best case scenario at the moment, but sometimes that's what prep is. It's not like you always prepare lines that are totally winning, but sometimes you prepare lines that, might be equal at best, but there's a lot of pitfalls along the way.
That's a great point. And yeah, I lost the game once against this line with black as a GM, and I didn't brush up on the theory. Now, one great thing about this, I think, practically speaking, white's position a little bit easier to play. You can see marginal difference in activity. h4, rook is already on g3. The knight is very jumpy in these positions. It can swing around to g5 at the right moment. So it's one of those things where it's equal. You can see the zeros, but black has to continue playing with no small measure of accuracy here. And the time disparity kind of showcasing that, I think.
Yeah, just small things. Like Christopher's obviously going to be more familiar with this position, but it's not to say that just because he's more familiar, just because it's his prep, just because the knight might be a little better than the bishop, optically. Not to say that Hans doesn't have any chances here. Black wins these, just as many times as white does.
For sure. And one of the things that can go wrong for white here is, first of all, small pawn structure deficiency. Black's pieces are very nicely centralized, so white can get a little bit too caught up in the kingside pressure and leave the center abandoned. You sometimes see blunders that arise when you stop paying attention to the other side of the board, or you decide to sack a pawn. So for sure, there's chances for both sides here, and often these games do end in draws as well.
Yeah, but at least, when you have a rook on g3, already lifted, h4, if there's going to be a draw somewhere down the line, at least it's most likely Christopher is going to be going for some sort of attack here. He swings the rook back into the middle, and, basically if white can sort of achieve some structure like c3, b4, hard to get that at the moment, but if that could happen, you'd really see the potential for a very nice endgame in the future where white is focusing on all those dark squares and the bishop doesn't have any targets.
That's a great point. You could even consider c3 here. He goes knight back to g3, opening up the e-file. The knight eyeing the f5 square eventually right now. You could play knight f5 technically, but after queen f6, it's nothing but trouble. So I like what Hans is doing here. I would consider c3 here, but then, okay, Christopher instead trying to bail it out.
Right.
I don't know. And, as you indicated, black, this is how these games are won. Slowly but surely, your position starts to crumble a little bit. But after rook e2, could Hans do something like, rook d4, maybe a check and then rook d4, something to this effect.
Yeah.
And it seems like black's taking over the initiative.
And I think it's already clear, as you've indicated, that black is sort of taking over, because you can see that whatever rook move Hans does, like rook d4, let's say he brought the other rook to d4, we'd probably see rook from e2 to e4. So if white's reacting to black's rook moves, he's already sort of lost his advantage, or his push, if there was any.
Yeah, and here there's a pretty big dilemma. Queen takes d2 was possible, getting a queen for 2 rook situation, but of course the h4 pawn would have been hanging at the end of the line. Christopher refraining from that, giving a check on b8, but now his queen is out of commission a little bit, and it needs to be back on home base, defending all of the weakness. But queen f4 is a very nice detail spotted by Christopher. Can't take the pawn because you get forked.
Right.
Hans does want to establish the rook on d2. He goes queen d6. The endgame seems closer to equality than anything else. So still take black maybe after rook d5. You don't want the knight coming to c5 in some of these positions.
Right.
Or, yeah, but knight c5. No. Then maybe
Probably
rook
he
d2.
just, rook d2 and just sort of everybody takes everything type of thing.
And Christopher may be getting a chance to put on the ideal pawn set of pawns on the dark squares, unattackable, defending each other.
I like it.
Yeah.
I think there's good chances for white here. If he gets like f3, king f2, then he's always covering the second rank with rook e2, and b6 nearly necessary, and followed by a5, I expect. Yeah.
Yeah, there it is. Now Christopher had maybe c4, but then rook d4. Rook a1 though, but then rook b5. You see black's pieces are active, and even though optically the pawn structure is better for white, it's very easy in such positions to blunder this base of the pawn chain, and that would be a disaster because the a pawn is, really wants to become a passer.
Right.
So I would keep the rook in the vicinity of being able to go to e2.
Yep. And now there might be even f5 after rook a1, so you can't even necessarily follow up the exact same way anymore.
That's a good point. f5, dislodging the knight, and then rook d2. So I would just go rook e2 here. Or you could play knight g3, but what I wouldn't do is something like g4, because then black can strike. I was going to say black can strike with h5 and try to carve out some weak squares on the king side, but I guess Christopher has calculated it concretely and determined that white's piece activity, knight g5 is interesting, because the point is at bishop d7, I suppose you can take on h5 and then swoop in with rook e7, or at the minimum take on f7, and this is almost checkmate.
My question is, what happens after rook d2? Because I'm not sure you're incentivized to play rook e2, because you can take it, maybe give it check. Or...
Yeah, and f6 there. Okay, he's done it. I guess king g3 was the idea here for Christopher. But
right.
That gets dangerous. If bishop goes to c4, king e3. Yes.
Okay, this is not so clear at all.
Yeah, I mean,
some chances for sure for Hans here.
That was way too fancy there for Christopher. I don't think he needed to do anything. Probably still a draw somehow, but
agreed.
Now maybe rook e4. I feel like these positions are lost a lot more often than they're drawn.
Yep, that's a good way to put it. Especially if you consider everything. It's +1 increment. It's only the second game of the match here. These guys are very, very competitive, which means you're not going to see Hans, make a flaccid attempt at winning here. He's really going to be trying.
He is an outside passer, and Capablanca devised this. I think Feng was the first to talk about these endgames in terms of percentage chances that white's going to hold to percentage chances that black's going to win. And I would rank it at 70, like 30% chance of a draw and 70% chance of a win. So I don't look bad in any case. And maybe 1% chance that Hans mouse slips and blunders a rook.
Yeah, you got to cover your bases there. The fact that there's a rook behind a pass pawn here, I think it's just winning. I'll just go out on a limb and say I think it's like for sure winning. And if it's not winning, then it's kind of like an outlier case.
Right, exactly. Well, it's either winning or drawn, as the great Greek philosophers used to say. Or all three results are technically possible in any position, except the positions where they're not. Now, my idea for black is to go e5 and try to carve out a pathway for black's king. Black's king can sort of walk around the c pawn and all the way to b2. That rook on a7 is doing a hero's job defending both g7 and a4. Hans trying to induce Zugzwang with rook a5, and then maybe king f5. King f7.
He's going to h6.
Whoa! That is an incredibly impressive idea. King comes to h6, and then he's going to take on h5 with the king.
Yeah.
And the game is basically over.
This is one of those things where you look at the engine and it's like, -2 or so, and it's just always -2. Every move, it's like -2, -2, -2. And then once in a while, it's just gonna be like, oh, -7. Like, oh, that's right, it's
Right.
lost.
Yeah, I knew that all along, right?
Yeah.
Okay, c4. Good attempt by Christopher, though. He's trying to keep his king active. The issue is the problem of repeated Zugzwangs, but black can end up all of a sudden being in a little bit of a Zugzwang. You don't want to step away with the king because white could go h6 perhaps, or chill on f4 and g5. So
And careful
wait a
of,
minute.
I was gonna say careful of f4 because all of a sudden
Whoa.
you get
King
c5
g4,
and
c5.
the king kind of walks in. Because, like,
Okay,
for
so
example, king f4, king h5, king e5, and I'm like, then it's hilarious. But what you were talking about with king c2, king b2, the white king does to the black rook.
Yeah, you walk over to b7 and you detach the rook from the c pawn. That could be close to a draw. Christopher has to see that idea.
Yeah.
And there's really nothing else to do. So I think he will see that idea. King
Mhm.
e5, I mean, you just got to do it. There are no other moves.
Ooh,
Okay,
that's
that's a
simply
bad
just
one, a3.
not good.
Yeah,
There's
rook e8
g6
is a
check
one
if,
move threat
okay, yeah.
for this. King f4, but g5 check is easy. King f3, though. Hans, of course, he was not born yesterday. Okay, that was unnecessary, but still winning. Rook e3, rook e2, yeah. I've seen some studies where you have some crazy draws. The white king pursues the black king, but this is not a crazy study.
No.
Wait a minute, is it a crazy study? Oh, my lands, rook g2. That might be a perpetual. Oh my lands. Whoa. How does he? Rook takes g4. This might be a draw. If a2, you get mated.
I'm in shock.
Wait a minute. Look at Christopher and all of his study. Christopher composes studies. He knows the themes down pat. Wait a second. Buckle your seatbelts.
He's going to have to put his signature in the bottom right corner of this one.
Oh, my lands. This is unbelievable. Now, will he hold it together as Hans? We know how tricky he is, but I don't see a single attempt by black.
Yeah, because there's not, you go king c3, king c2, or rook shuffle on the first rank.
Will that Bay Area internet hold up? Rook g8. He's got 1 second. King c2. Perfectly executed by Christopher.
Yep.
And then he wants to go rook b8, I suppose.
Needs rook b8.
You don't even need
this
to.
Works as well, yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing black can do.
And by the way, not king c1, rook h4, but king c3 with checkmate. It's kind of important.
Right, exactly. Rook g8. Here you simply stay put.
And now Hans is the one flagging.
Yeah, you got to be careful because you can sink into a think and forget about your clock.
Yeah.
Hans, with 1 second, he's got to be careful as well, as he said.
Seriously, you can get mated as black, like, so
yeah,
easily.
by accident. Yeah, just move. Oops, moved my king. Oh, and it's a draw. Oh my gosh. Can you believe that?
I actually can't. Like, I'm a little bit shocked at the moment. So I don't think, I think at some point a lot of that became forced, as in Christopher earned his draw. But I certainly don't think there's any chance that that was a forced sequence at all. But amazing by Christopher to even like stay in the position or put himself in a position where that would even be an idea. Like he put his rook on a2 and he had this in mind, whether or not it was forced or whether it was working or not. He was thinking about this.
Yeah, and as the game goes on, very quickly, let me just show. I think there was no need for Hans. I was surprised that he pushed this pawn. Okay, this was all good. Good. Now, even the move g5, unnecessary, I think. Just go king h5, and that's it. King f5, rook a5 check. This move maybe he missed, and then you go a4, and black's king walks backwards rather than forwards. When the king walks forwards, it's a little bit more vulnerable to these perpetual mate threats. And we saw that pawn on a3 actually serving as a detriment, not allowing black's king to escape via a2 and a3. Incredible stuff. We've definitely seen quite a few studies where this type of idea features. Black could even be up a queen, but the king keeps pursuing. the black king with mate threats.
And it's one thing to do all that, and to be honest, Daniel, it's a totally different thing to do that with 1 second the entire time.
Hmm.
Like, yeah, it's unbelievable. So he
Yeah, how do
he's
you not
basically,
panic?
yeah, he's basically feeling like he just won the game, and Hans is
Hmm.
probably feeling like he lost it, even though hey, it's only a 1 point lead, and that was only game two.
Right, and if you're Hans, I mean, you got to take the positives out, which is very hard to do. But he did outplay him from an equal position, so
Yeah.
I think Hans is very good in these simple positions. He doesn't shoot himself in the foot. He's very, very solid in the way that he exploits mistakes very, very well. I was thinking about some 94 ideas, but I don't know if there's any need for that. We've got another one of these structures where this time Hans is much more careful in preparing knight f4, preemptively defending the d4 pawn. But Christopher's got his counterplay with knight a5, knight c4. I actually like black's position again.
Yeah, this looks pretty natural for black here with the pressure on the queen side. Knight's going to jump into c4. If you need counterplay as well, there's always b4 down the line. But knight f4, he's striking back. The one thing about bringing the knight into c4 is you lose a lot of pressure on the d4 pawn.
Right. That is true. Now you could play bishop d6 here and try to define the position. Knight takes c6, probably in black's favor, although that pawn on e6 could end up being weak. I've seen games where, despite the seeming solidity of black's pawn structure, you end up paying the price. But I wouldn't let the situation fester. I feel like bishop d6 is a pretty decisive move. Well, not literally decisive, but it forces white to decide in that way.
And the knight from c3, like, first of all, like, knight takes a3, at least might be echoing in the chambers of black's head at the moment, as it's a common idea. So white generally wants to go like knight from c3 back to e2 and maybe over to g3. And yeah, he's going to do this. And this prepares the idea of like either a4 or b3 in the right moment to dislodge that knight.
Yeah, and the problem is black has more activity right now, this very second. But already, as you said, Amon, white is threatening b3, and boom, who's got more activity now? How about them apples?
Right.
So in these positions, you have to look not only at the short term, but also who's got access, who's got more potential energy in their position. And white's got these knights perfectly poised to take over the initiative. Christopher has to be very careful here. He's in pretty big trouble if he doesn't play with filigree precision. And even then, I think white's quite a bit better.
I think he's in trouble if he does play. That's the problem.
He is in trouble. Christopher's in trouble, period. Rook e6 is a good move.
I like it. Yeah, there's knight c5, knight e5 jumps. There's also like this b3 move that we've been touching on. Knight f5 at the moment, not quite possible, or at least definitely not lethal because of rook takes e1, queen f5. But there's b3.
Could you grab the pawn and rage?
You absolutely could, and maybe you absolutely should, but this is one of those chicken moments, I feel like, where Hans is like, yeah, that looks a little sketchy. No one would do that. And Christopher's like, yeah, that looks a little sketchy giving up that pawn. No one would do that.
Rage, there it is. He grabs it. Now, the good thing for black here, the helpful thing is that you could play b4 and secure the knight. The knight on a3 is not in mortal danger. So here, b4. And as active as white's knight look, I don't see exactly how white can convert the positioning of his knights into something specific. Maybe you go queen d2, try to prepare some sort of a sacrifice. But guess what? That knight from a3, it has not spoken its last word yet. It can come to b5 and c3. That's a pretty dangerous maneuver.
And there's a few kind of cool moves here, like knight g6, or more specifically knight c6, which kind of look fancy, but ultimately I imagine the bishop just moves like bishop d8. And so I don't think they actually work, but they look cool.
They do, and well, the rook on f8 is also hanging, but knight g6, I guess fg, and then that simultaneously attacks the knight.
Right.
Han's definitely preparing something like that, undoubtedly. He's trying to double rooks, and then knight g6 is going to be a force to be reckoned with, and Christopher immediately pulling the fire extinguisher out here.
Super impressive by Christopher to I mean, you used the word to describe him earlier, which I thought was really accurate. And he's a very mature player. I mean, to be able to play knight takes a3 and just defend so comfortably, and you look now, he's earned himself what could just be an advantage.
Yeah, but the problem is the fire has not been entirely extinguished until you get rid of this knight Hans trying to use this opportunity, covering the f5 square, and maybe bishop h4 is sort of lurking in the shadows. I don't see a compelling downside to knight d7. I wouldn't procrastinate on the question of getting rid of this cancer on e5.
Yep. It looks like
There's some
bishop
tactic
h4,
things.
maybe rook e6 is the answer, because even as
Yeah.
black, you're not necessarily afraid of pawn takes f6. It might look terrible, but it opens up the e file by force,
Uh-huh.
and that's trading every, just vacuum every single piece off.
That's a great point. You actually might want to encourage that.
Right.
Hans maybe will go bishop g3, x-raying the knight, but this is quite milquetoast. These aren't serious threats, and black is definitely better now.
Mm-hmm.
Almost imperceptibly, grab that pawn, he got the knight back, he neutralized the immediate threats, and now he's gearing up to continue taking over the game.
Impressive. Very impressive. And yeah, he's
Whoa.
wow. He's not just content with the position. Tanya, a4. He wants to say maybe
Incredible.
after pawn takes, knight c4.
Look at these snappers.
Wow.
What movie is that from? Everybody in the chat. I'll be impressed.
Knight c4 looks like a big threat. However, one big difference though is after taking on g5 to f6, now there's the whole g file to play with, and that was not the case a couple moves ago. So I think Hans has improved his chances at least with this this queen g2 idea.
Agreed. So, oops, sorry. Yeah. So queen g2. Wait a second. Couldn't you take and then queen g2 and f4? Is that what you were talking about?
Exactly.
Or were you saying queen g2 immediately?
No, taking queen g2 and then f4 might be very good for a win. Queen h3 threatens checkmate in one and might be good for like a win or a draw. I don't know.
I don't like queen g2 immediately though. Something is telling me you should have taken first. This gives black options. What are those options? Potentially rook e6.
Yeah.
And if bishop h6, whoop, knight f5 hits everything.
That's a sweet move.
And Christopher is not missing that second chance, rook e6 on the board. That may have been a decisive blunder by Hans to not take on f6 first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he had some real chances there, maybe even for a win, because the black king suddenly looked like he's in trouble. All of black's pieces are the e file and over. Meanwhile, you got this king on g8 that's getting assaulted on two open files.
Right. Now Hans taking his time, realizing I think he was banking on bishop h6 and might have just overlooked knight f5. That's an easy move to miss. Of course, g6 is not the solution to black's problems because of knight takes g6.
Right.
Hans takes on b3, not a sign that your position is not good and your initiative has fizzled out. Again, knight d7 keeps appealing to me, but Christopher going for the full 9 yards here, pinning the pawn, threatening rook takes e5 potentially, although you still have to be very cautious about bishop takes f6. Now knight f5 looks good.
Mm-hmm.
Knight c4.
Knight c4 looks good, although it will be met by bishop f2. Probably bishop f2 no matter what black plays.
Ooh, queen d2.
Super, super surprising from my point of view, because I think I take that bishop, 9 days a week.
Just rook b8. I mean, I feel like keeping this pawn is pretty important. Maybe there's some indirect defense like queen a7 or something, but no. Christopher says, I don't really mind my rook being passive. They're both behind the passed pawn.
Right.
And I would just play king h1. Wow. I was going to say king h1, just something neutral, but look at Christopher, very sharp. Knight d7 maybe, rook a6 instead, getting the rook around. Rook g1 though, you got to be careful, don't sleep on white.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-oh. Knight h7, maybe get that queen out of there.
Yeah, I would swing the rook over on the 6th rank. h6, f6. Like I feel like that one might be needed defensively.
Yeah, and Christopher has lost control of this a little bit. Queen e8 though, nice move. This, I think, forces the queen trade, because if you move your queen, you might run into f6.
Yep, but I think you run into f6 if you take the pawn as well. Like takes on e8, takes on b4, f6, knight d3, takes rook a1, and the king on h1 is a little too far away.
So Christopher bites the bullet here. He wants knight d3 against f6. Christopher reinforces now the threat of f6 is crushing. So rook g1 seems to be obligatory. He does it. F6 anyway is possible. Rook b5. He's attacking on all sides.
Wow.
It's Christopher. We have a time scramble. Don't play f6 now. That would be made on
True.
g7.
Knight g6 next, an idea for sure.
Yep.
Even if the b pawn gets lost here, I feel like black's better with all these weak pawns on white's camp.
Oh, for sure. And Christopher making very practical decisions here, trying to extinguish the
Oh, 1
initiative.
second.
F4 though. Rook f6. When he sees it, queen takes d5, maybe rook f3. But he's got to move.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, my lands. And now f5.
He's playing really well though.
He is, but knight takes e5. What is a b3? Even better. Oh, knight takes g6 there. Maybe it was possible. Oh, no. It was check. Unbelievable. Knight f4, knight d3. The knight gearing up for...
Stops.
Oh, rook b4, rook c8. And now he's going to torch. Oh, look at that idea. But Hans using his pawns to distract.
But there's not rook e1.
b7, I guess, and rook d1 check. King d8 hiding behind the pawn. But Beautiful. How do you win? How do you make progress? Beautiful. Knight f4, I guess. Sorry.
Oh, it's with check now. Gorgeous.
Oh my gosh.
Gorgeous.
The level of precision I'm on is out of this world.
With 1 second, again, this is like Christopher is living on this increment.
Wow. Rook h5 wins.
Knight d6, yeah.
Knight f5. And the game is over.
Those pawns are going to roll.
Yep.
And you can try to catch them, but you know,
nope.
It's like, you know, it's like when you have a sibling and you're 1 year older than them. You're always going to be 1 year older than them.
It's a great that's a great comparison. Yes, I'm 11. I'm 15
exactly.
now. Ah, darn, he's 16.
Ooh, interesting stuff. G6. We see an early lead, and you know, Hans maybe looking back at that game that he could have won and maybe should have won with the black pieces earlier. He only got a draw out of that one, so he's yet to claim a full point on the board here, and 2.5 to half point here early on.
That's right. And Christopher, I think, is the 5-minute portion is his best chance to get a pretty big lead. Hans, you know, we all know how strong he is in 3 and 1 minute. Not that Christopher is a slouch, but given how this match has begun, I think, you know, Christopher's got to continue playing very, very ambitiously. But I do like the way Hans is handling the black openings here. Yep,
this looks like a fun position. You got the e5 and f4 squares to look at for your pieces. You know, knight c to e5, the knight on g6, watching over the king side. So I agree. This looks like a fun opening. Definitely some imbalances, and I say imbalances because knight f1. And while we're looking at the dark squares, Christopher is looking at the light squares with knight e3.
Yes, he is. G4, though, Hans wants to play h5, and I think just go after that bishop. The computer liking what he's doing a lot. Knight e5 also is possible. Now, I've seen games where white just gets crushed on the king side here very suddenly. We might be seeing something like that here. Christopher's white openings, yeah, he needs to maybe make some changes in the early going. Just doesn't seem too confident in some of these Ray Lopez positions.
Exactly. And he switched his opening from the last time they played because he got, as you said, outplayed in an equal position from that d4 line. I think it's a line that you sort of try once, and hey, if your opponent demonstrates that, you know, they kind of know how to equalize and get to a normal position without blundering, then you don't try it again.
That's right. Christopher sensing the danger here, taking a long think, deciding where to put this knight. Maybe even bishop takes c6 needs to be played. I mean, just trying to clear the shrubbery, and then probably black maybe plays gf and fg, but seems actually playable for white. It's very important not to allow the situation to deteriorate too far on the king side. No, he's got knight f1, or sorry, knight d2 rather, and now paving the way for bishop f4. Well, but this is a disaster.
Just take the bishop, I reckon, is a pretty decent option.
5 he's gone. I suppose, yeah, he's allowed bishop h6, which I'm quite surprised by, to be honest. Would have taken that.
Wow. Totally different approach.
Yeah, he's going for the attack on the king side. Makes sense.
Maybe yeah, definitely as white, you are breathing a sigh of relief, though, trading dark square bishops off rather than having knight takes your dark square bishop, I think.
Right. And something like f4 looks crazy, but maybe you need those kinds of reinforcements. Reinforcements. Oh, God.
And that wasn't actually, too bad.
That was not, no.
Yeah.
I think I undermined myself.
Yeah, I was gonna say you made it seem like it wasn't that good, but actually, tons of praise needs to be thrown at that one there.
Humor needs to be understated, Genius humor needs to be understated. But what about h3? That is not an understated move. Trying to carve out that f3 square for the knight. No, Hans, very patient. He's accumulating the pieces. He wants to put a rook on e8. This is a beautiful position for black.
Yep.
I would take on a7.
Yeah, I was about to say.
He does. I mean, you've got to try it.
Yeah.
Knight g3. Hoping for knight h5.
Sometimes when my opponent makes a move like queen takes a7, my reaction is like, I need to play quickly to show them how stupid they are. Like, like I gotta immediately bust this opening.
But c5 I think is winning. Queen e4, knight f3.
Yeah.
He goes d5. I don't like that move. Knight d2 now. I think Hans should have spent longer trying to find the knockout blow.
Yes, because he may have been worried c5 queen takes e4, something like this. But I mean, this when f2's hanging at the end of this knight f3 check line, then
and rook f3.
Yeah, you know there's going to be a knockout there.
We've got knight d2, bishop g2, b4 by Christopher, which is very sensible, trying to prevent c5.
Knockout. Maybe I'm missing it, but this seems well defended, surprisingly.
You're not, and the eval bar reflecting that. Black still has a huge attack. I think the likeliest scenario is that something will manifest itself. Hans has to be kicking himself. He's just a little bit too sloppy in these critical phases of the game, getting excellent positions, then not quite able to find the most precise continuation, and Christopher not going to give him a second chance. Wait a minute, just bishop takes g4. What is Hans doing here? I think that's a blunder.
Bishop takes g4 is quite the move as well. Like to immediately almost go on offense the moment you get a chance to do so is impressive.
And Christopher, he is not going to miss that chance. He wants to go bishop h5, f4, and all that will remain of Black's once devastating attack on is just this bishop kind of sitting here, neither here nor there on g2. What is going on here?
I can't believe it, but it looks like Christopher is maybe even favorite to win this game now with all these pawns that he's grabbing.
Bishop, and the reason you can't play f4 is because you blunder the bishop on g4. So that's why I would drop the bishop back first. This move f4, if you can get it in, Black's position starts to crumble.
Exactly.
Maybe Hans wants to double rooks in that case and get something going down the e file, which is quite interesting.
Christopher, I think his camera's frozen, and I see the terrible red bar.
Oh man!
And of all the positions to DC,
this is the worst one. Yeah,
when you're making a comeback from a serious attack like this is most unfortunate.
By the way, I'm going to backseat drive here, Hans, for a second. Now, when I'm streaming and stuff, one thing that I recommend is to have your phone nearby and to have that phone on 4G or on data, so that the moment you disconnect, you log in on your phone and you continue the game while your internet is resetting.
Yep.
I think it's a little hack that allows you to basically never lose by disconnection. Now, rook e2, I think, is a bit of a internet move. Internet has gone down kind of move. I liked bishop e2 instead. Now, I still think white is better. Just wait a minute. Queen f6 was interesting, but I guess there was something there. Oh, and Hans allowing a transition to an endgame.
Not good. He won't be happy with that because, as you pointed out, the move f4, if that appears on the board followed by king f2, it's pretty much done.
Right. Now, knight b3. Maybe knight comes to d4. You don't want to allow d4, which Christopher just did.
Yeah, I'm very surprised by that, but he doesn't seem to care.
Rook e8. Ah, that's an important resource. Still, I'm a little bit concerned about this d4 pawn. It does yield some counterplay. White is winning undoubtedly. Christopher, very nice move. Rook e5. He's going to support it with f4.
Really good technique. f4, and there's always rook a5. A4, a5 as well.
Yeah, you don't even need it, as you just indicated, but Christopher, like a good Russian schoolboy.
So strong.
He ain't giving him any more chances. Yeah,
King
averted
F6,
disaster there.
F4.
The internet, but just F4 anyway. Maybe Hans takes and goes rook b8 though.
Yeah, he's certainly going to, like, there's an A file, a B file, and an E file. And he's saying, look, you can't cover all three. I'm going to get something.
You know, I understand it's +3, but I would not be too surprised if Christopher repeated with rook b5, rook a5, rook e5.
Mm-hmm.
I would not be shocked.
No, absolutely not.
And I wouldn't hold it against him either, because 20 seconds and you could lose control of this so easily.
Yep.
He's gaining some time by giving these checks, but ultimately you can't procrastinate forever. You have to decide.
So if you play b5, then you're basically allowing the rook to go in with rook e8 because there is no rook e5. So especially with the internet and the way things have happened this game, he's probably interested in not playing this position on.
And I think that's a great decision, actually. I'm going to be honest. I think that not going for it here, because if you lose this game, you know, you've saved a draw. That's a great result. And you're still up by 2. It's very hard when you look at the eval bar to say, well, why is Christopher, you know, he's winning. But if you look at where the risk is coming from, Hans with 2 extra minutes, I absolutely agree with that decision. He should have played bishop e2, though. That was a pivotal moment where I think Christopher had the cleanest win.
Yep. No, absolutely. I think we're probably going to be echoing this throughout the match, but very mature player, very mature decision. This isn't like, you know, we all know, and these players know, especially Christopher, that he's got a good position here, but, you know, he doesn't want to risk DCing again, just wants to get out of this game. Solid result. He also knows he's leading in the match. There's no need to take excessive risk. So 100% think that the draw is the right result here. And conveniently, the players are going to be actually going on a break at the moment, which I think is a very good thing for Christopher, because they they probably need it to do some troubleshooting. So we are going to take a break here. I see the players are actually in a game.
Yeah, they're going to abort that.
There it is. So we're going to take a break, guys, and we're going to come back with the second half of the 5+1 portion here in the JSCC matchup between Christopher Yu and Hans Niemann. And welcome back, everybody. We, as you can see, we've got Christopher back with us. I think it was a relatively minor hiccup because he's actually able to reconnect very quickly. And I'm sure he's maybe now, Dania, following your advice. Maybe he's got the phone beside him for a quick reconnection in case it happens again.
You got to do whatever it takes. And he's got to be happy. He's up 1-3, half of the 5-minute portion through. The only thing that worries me, looking a little bit ahead at the next two segments, is, of course, the time consumption, predictably. He is taking a lot more time than Hans. That also might be part of what Hans' undoing so far has consisted of. It seems like in some of these critical moments when he can deliver a knockout blow or cause serious problems, he's missing some of those chances, and Christopher has been so sharp in some of these small tactics, climbing back from bad positions, and particularly on playing in time pressure. Christopher has been so impressive on increment.
Yep, no, that's a really good point. Like plus 1 second. It's not even plus 2. 1 second for most people, myself included, it's barely enough time to process your opponent's move, think about your move, and then actually, put your move on the board. That should take way longer than a second. And the fact that Christopher could do all that is so impressive.
And again, we have this time a more symmetrical Nimzo position. If you remember, Hans was putting his knight on e2. He's abandoned that idea in favor of the more traditional development of the knight to f3. Now, I always felt that these positions were very unpleasant for black. Even though it looks symmetrical, white's got these marginal differences in piece activity that I think contributes to a relatively unpleasant position for black. In addition, you always have to reckon with queen d2 and bishop takes h6, which sometimes is just winning. And you can see the eval bar is not having any of what Christopher's doing. Hans deploying the queen to d3, and I can see why. How do you defend against that? If you play g6, there's always going to be these kinds of tactics. This is very bad for Christopher.
Yeah, and you can imagine your tactic spun the other way around. Queen d3, g6, rook takes e6. It's the worst version. And I agree. This looks extremely scary. But instead of d3, maybe I might choose. I was thinking maybe I might choose c2 because of knight c4. But very, very similar ideas.
Yeah, rook e1, and you got to start watching out for these tactics. If not for the bishop on e6, that would be a very simple and very typical decoy sacrifice. Hans doubling his rooks on the e-file. Something is going to break here. It looks like black's position is about to give out, but right now, nothing specific as of yet. Now, if rook fe8, then there's these kinds of tactics with bishop h6 and rook e6. I've seen these kinds of games before.
Love it. Love it. There, and I mean, you can just see the tactical cogwheels in Hans's brain turning right now. He knows this is a position where there are some pretty serious sacrifices that are going to be working.
Pretty good here for white. And Christopher trying to create chances on the other side of the board. Hans immediately playing what?
I don't like it.
I don't like it at all. Knight takes b2. What is he doing?
It's just a
too fast.
Maybe unnecessarily fancy.
Queen f5, g6, and white's queen is almost trapped here.
Yeah. Well, sorry. Oh yeah, I was gonna say you're saying almost. I'm saying it almost. Like it actually is trapped. But knight c4 after queen e5, you could drop back to e2. Thankfully.
And knight c4 here as well is possible. Rook c3 is possible. Black b3. White still has a pretty serious attack to be reckoned with, but man, oh man, this is ridiculous. This is insane. How is he doing this?
And look at Christopher once again. I mean, how many times is he just going to take this a3 pawn? Like,
he doesn't care. It's crazy. Literally doesn't care.
Where is the... How do you dislodge the knight? That's your only idea, right? You have to play bishop e5. But there's rook c3. There's lots of ways to kick this queen out.
Now simply taking on b1, neutralizing any threats along this diagonal. Bishop e6 is possible here. b3 simply.
This game is very over.
I think bishop e4 might be... No, I guess not. Oh, wait. Rook e4. My idea was g6, queen e5, rook f8. But again, there's no need to be fancy. I always have this problem. I like to find interesting solutions. But probably rook f to e8 wins the game on the spot, just taking off the last active piece that white possesses.
Or a5. I mean, I don't think he needs to do anything.
He doesn't. White has no ideas here at all. Bishop e5 isn't even an idea because Christopher does it, but I feel like there might be something wrong with it. The eval bar is not having it. What is it?
Well, queen e5 is the only move. Rook fe8, and
I think it might have to do with the rook takes b4.
And queen f6, bishop h6.
Yes.
But you can do it after queen e5. Maybe it's even better. Or
maybe. And this is uncharacteristic by Christopher. I guess it was the curse of me proposing it.
Yeah, basically, if you say it, he has to do it, obviously.
But there was no, I mean, he was so winning that you got to always weigh the pros and cons. Maybe this wins on the spot, right? Maybe it does. But then you got to ask yourself, all right, well, what are the chances that I'm blundering something here? Pretty high. Mm-hmm. What are the chances that I'm not going to win if I play it simple? Very, very low. And there it is. And he put Hans in a position where he literally has nothing other to do than this.
I agree.
And that was a bad decision by Christopher. How does he even save the game? Oh, he can play queen b1, queen b4, queen b1, queen e4, but then there's going to be bishop h6 in the end with a lobster pincer.
So he has to play queen d8 or queen c6, like only moves?
Oh, that's a good point. Queen c6. And apparently that's a blunder. Did he miss d5? Whoa, Hans again immediately playing a move. I didn't even know what was going. Wait a second.
So yeah, he had that one ready. He had that one ready.
Yeah, but he might have been, Hans might have been winning there with some rejoinder like d5. Here, black can go knight f6 and back to d5, and again black has the advantage. Queen f6
I'm doing the behind the scenes work for you, Daniel. Rook c4 was White's move after queen c6. What a ludicrous move.
Incredible move. And it's the same theme though, Aman, because after queen e4, queen f6, again, you go for the lobster pincer here.
Wow.
And instead, Hans is absolutely shooting himself in the foot here. He is beating himself. Now, Christopher, not to take anything away from him, but Hans is beating himself in some of these games.
Hey, this might be bad, but I think Hans has very reasonable drawing chances and outside like winning chances.
Yeah, he's got very active pieces. The Black King is not breathing easy right now, let me tell you.
Mm-hmm.
Knight g7 is a very nice move, though, coming to e6 or to f5.
Yep. I feel like I would do this as well, like rook e1 and then rook a4 and rook a1 and just double the rooks and just do nothing the rest of the game.
Yeah.
That's how I would try to draw it.
Yeah, rook e1. But rook h4 maybe? Is there any crazy attacking ideas here? Trying to induce f6 as Hans, maybe get the knight to e6. Not that that's the end of the world for black, but maybe it is. Rook c7 instead by Christopher. Nice move, keeping the pawn structure intact.
Right. And probably... I just feel like anytime that you start disconnecting your pieces, g5, f4, d6, they're all undefended. It gives me such a bad feeling.
Christopher, oh gosh, he's going to get a queen to e5, and that might be a crushing idea. If knight f3, then you start pushing your a pawn, and white has zero counterplay.
Well, it's rook c1 check. Like, oh, sorry, you were saying knight f3. If h4, then rook c1 check, and then queen e5 might be even worse.
It is. This is winning. This is honestly unbelievable. And Hans, he has to make this modification now. I mean, he has to realize that Christopher not seeing rook c1.
Yeah.
Sloppy game. Really sloppy game. Rook c1 now, but I guess this is also winning.
Yep, he's just going to push that a pawn.
How about queen a1 check and a4?
Yeah, and what do you do as white? Like, where's the...
Nothing.
Almost knight takes
knight
f7.
f7.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a draw. I don't know. Knight f7, a3, I think, should be played. Because very often these are fortresses. But probably with a pair of rooks on the board. I don't know. Maybe it's still a draw.
Needs to be a3. I think it's a draw after rook f7, honestly.
I agree. And I think Christopher's going to see a3. He's thinking and he plays it quickly. The king has plenty of hiding spaces on h6. H7.
Plenty of hiding spaces on this one hiding space.
96, though, a threat. Christopher, though, maybe queen c3, 96, king h6. And there's no mate on h8 because the queen's guarding that square.
Yeah, amazing.
Plenty of time, though, here for Christopher to figure all this out. Over a minute on the clock.
Yeah,
and he's winning.
even if there were, chances like rook h8, there is always rook h7 after knight e6. So it's covering it in more ways than one.
And that's another game thrown into the wastebasket by Hans, given, the speed with which he's making some of these critical decisions. King h6
So,
incoming.
yeah. And I think he might just be repeating once, just to see the moves, but I think he'll go to h6 eventually.
Okay, he goes to h6 here, which is entirely possible. Now you could play rook f7, but king g7 is much smoother, I think.
Yep.
The game wasn't smooth enough. What do you want me to do? And there's no way. Yeah, king g7. There's no way to produce any single threat with that queen on b2 fulfilling,
Nothing to
doing
do.
yeoman's work, defending that h8 square. That's important.
Nothing to do here. H5, pawn takes h5.
Mm-hmm.
Don't fall for h6.
Yeah, don't fall for it. Well, even bear king h7 is winning. Okay, I think Christopher might win this now.
Hopefully he's got enough firepower there on the. He's really covering the h8 square now.
It might be insufficient material. I think you should claim a draw.
If only that were possible.
It's funny because in chess camp that I taught it recently for more beginner kids, one of them came up and said, "Wait a second, if I'm losing on the position, can't I just blunder all of my pieces and let my time run out?" And I said, "Why would you do that?" He said, "Well, it's a draw." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Insufficient material." I said, no, insufficient material. It means your opponent doesn't have enough. I thought it was adorable, but a really cute kid. And he was like innocently saying, "Oh, it's a draw." I had to clarify. It's your opponent who has to have insufficient material, not you.
Yeah, I have insufficient material every game. I've never lost.
Yeah, exactly. You've hacked chess.
That's
now,
fantastic.
We have another one of these Ruy Lopez's. Ruy Lopez-I. And I don't like this for white. I feel like Christopher should have changed this particular line. Even though the eval bar may give a slight advantage for white, I feel like black's play on the king side is so easy, and white has to be very, very precise not to let what happened in their previous game happen again.
Agreed totally. I think that he may have spent most of his break potentially sorting out like the issues with the connection, just ensuring that was all good. So he might not have had a lot of time to check over some of the games. And, at the end of the day, he did win that game. So I think we'll probably see him change this if it continues to go poorly in the next break before the 3-minute time control.
Indeed. And we've seen players take different approaches to that question. Some of them frantically logging onto ChessBase, doing their research. Some of them eating some chocolate, munching on a granola bar, listening to some music and resting. I think both approaches have their place, but It really depends on how you've done opening wise. Christopher definitely will have some tweaking to do. Now here, knight e3 is possible. He can also win the pawn on c6, but black is not going to be heartbroken over that, Ahmad.
No, he's going to be looking at his, but then again, while Hans is looking at his nice position and Christopher is looking at his extra pawn, isn't that something we've seen in nearly every game so far? Christopher is taking pawns relentlessly and ruthlessly from Hans, day in, day out. And he's been showing some incredible defense in the series so far.
He has. And I think in that position, rook f5 should have at least been considered by Hans with the idea of deploying the bishop instead on this very important long diagonal. Instead, he plays the tempting move, but this could potentially run into something like knight e3. Of course, white also has to reckon with the b2 pawn being hanging. He has to decide, is he going to defend it? In Christopher's spirit, probably rook d2. Okay, rook d2 played, and quickly g4 takes stakes, knight d4 on the board. White's better now. Knight coming to e3, white's up a pawn, consolidating.
If you take that bishop, I was about to say, if you take that bishop and you plop it on b7, you start to get ideas for black all of a sudden. Yes, white might be better, but that bishop on b7 really gives you some long-term potential with knight h4, queen g5, lots of stuff to do on the king side. So, hey, bishop c8 is not everyone's first choice, but I really like the decision by Hans to admit his mistake and to put that bishop where I think it belongs.
Indeed, and queen d7. Despite what the eval bar is saying, I think black has more chances here than he did in some other games. I would drop the queen back to d8 probably and just, okay, queen f7, trying to trade on his own terms. is Hans. This makes a lot of sense as well. I would take that queen maybe with Christopher and kind of play a low risk position. Of course, black has winning chances even in the endgame chances to create an attack with something like rook g8, knight h4. Hans trying to preserve all of his pieces.
Yeah, he's not going to be giving that one up. Need that bishop.
Okay.
Knight h4, I like next. Rook
Yeah,
g8.
this is getting a little bit hairy, a little bit dicey.
There's always room for sacrifice if the pawn goes to f3 to try to blunt that diagonal. Knight h4, and suddenly, rook or bishop takes f3 is to be considered.
And look at the clock situation. This is the craziest thing I've ever seen.
Hey, some people, when you lose a couple games, it's fair to say that Hans is looking back on some chances that he had, some good positions he had, and he's doing a little bit of that speed tilt where you play very, very quickly, and he's doing that right now, and it's actually kind of working out for him.
And of course, Hans is known for playing very, very fast over the board as well. That's sort of the Nepo-like speed. That's part of his style, and you got to slow down sometimes. He is just continuing to play into. Now, in this particular game, he's playing very good moves. And now this very unpleasant idea of h5, h4 could knock the bishop off of g3 and increase the pressure on the g2 pawn. I think he's going to go h5. There it is.
Immediately.
And f3, of course, he sees it. And maybe f3 by white, as ugly as it looks, to blunt the bishop. You hear that, Feingold? I'm proposing f3.
I think there's some special sonar sound wave that he does hear.
No matter where he is,
exactly.
He hears it at all times.
Yep.
At f5 by Christopher. Evalbar didn't like that move. Okay, now rook f5, of course, is threatened. f3, again, I kind of like to reinforce. Whoa, almost pre-moved.
Yeah, and he was hovering that, you could tell.
He was expecting f3.
Now the question
now rook
is,
h1, who's going to get mated?
Yeah, I was about to say. He has to do this to allow king g6.
Whoa. But now knight d4 and knight e6 is a huge threat. I don't know about this. I feel like black's losing control of the game. Still over 4 minutes on the clock.
Remarkable thing about Christopher is his ability to remain accurate. Like a lot of us would be in this position against Hans. He'd have a 3-minute time edge, and Hans's speed, and let's be fair, Hans's accuracy, his moves have been pretty good as well, wouldn't be met with just as much accuracy just as quickly by Christopher, but it is right now. And that's so frustrating when you're playing fast, good moves, and your opponent is playing as fast, better moves when they're low on time. That's so frustrating.
But as I just indicated, knight takes f3 in that position was a massive tactic missed by Hans that would have taken over the initiative. And this is uncharacteristic. He sees this stuff generally. Now he's down 2 pawns, and Christopher has to consolidate. There's still some threats going on the f-file, but takes a knight d5, looks interesting, rook d1. And I think you hit the nail right on the head, Aman. These moves like rook d1 and time pressure, we take them for granted. They are very impressive. It's hard to play with this maturity and calm when you've got less than a minute on the clock. It really is.
No, these are strong moves from Christopher. He's not giving anything to Hans. Knight d8, huge threat.
You jinxed him. Knight takes f3. This is elementary. Well, not elementary for white to see, but once it's played on the board.
Knight d8?
Wait, knight d8. Oh, my lands. And I'm eating my words, and Christopher maybe misses it. Knight d8 probably was winning.
Well, yeah, that's why I thought he played knight e6.
Wait a minute, but now gf, and oh my goodness, there was a fork on f5.
Crazy.
Oh my lands. Hans has lost control completely in the 5-minute segment.
Yep. But to be honest, how are you supposed to continue as black there? Like, you have to
maybe taking some time though would have helped.
Yeah, I think it's. I have this issue when I watch Nepo play sometimes, is that it's totally a live by the sword, die by the sword mentality.
Yeah.
And when it doesn't go well, it's easy to be like, oh, he just needed to take more time. But that's just not his style, and it never will be.
I agree.
So he can't just do that. And, he wins the brilliant games when he's playing that quickly as well. He gets his wins because he puts his opponent in time pressure. So I never really know how to handle those situations. But it's tough. It's tough because it's so easy to look at it from the outside.
I agree with you in general. I just feel like in these very tactical positions, when you know that you have to calculate, continuing to play exclusively by intuition, and you even see Nepo, he does take time in critical moments. And I think it is Hans's style. It's an incredibly effective way of playing. It's brought him tremendous success. And it would be foolish to say otherwise. But, even the speediest players, even Usain Bolt probably takes time to eat dinner. And sometimes you just got to slow down and calculate, no matter how good your intuition is. And I think he's missing some of those moments. With that said, of course, it's so easy for me to say that as I sit here in my armchair and try to drive the car from the back seat. I get it, but perhaps in the break, he's going to reflect. And if he continues to play fast in the 3-minute segment, I think with Christopher's time consumption, he'll have to accelerate the pace of his play as well.
Hey, listen, you're speaking facts, but I'm going to give you a hot take. Guess what? In the break, he's not going to reflect on that, and he's not going to slow down.
No, he's
That's
not.
just, there you go. That's what's going to happen.
He's better again, though. Another excellent position. This Nimzo has not been going well for Black either. The openings have, despite Christopher's opening prowess, Hans has done great in the opening to get super, super nice positions. Rook coming to E1. Christopher has to do something about White's initiative or it'll blossom out of control.
Yeah, and I think that the breaks are going to be used probably in much different ways by these players. Like Hans probably just needs to chill out. Like he just needs to maybe listen to some music, get some food. Christopher probably should check his openings because he's been worse. I would say I'd prefer to have Hans's openings in almost the last 4 or 5 games. They've been really, really good with Black, these Ruy Lopez positions, and then these symmetrical isolated D-pawn positions. Have always preferred Hans's position no matter what.
Yeah, maybe Niemann should go lie down and just take his Hans off of the computer mouse. Sometimes maybe that's.
The F4.
Is there anything left to say after that?
That's the F4 one is probably going to have to be the measuring stick.
Well, I was taking a very hands-on approach to puns.
I just hope there's a winning tactic so that the game ends or there's something to talk about in the meantime.
How about Queen D3, Knight G5? So Christopher, yeah, exactly. I actually like what he's done here, Amon, because yes, he's ruined his structure, but at the very least, at least White's piece activity is not overwhelming anymore. And guess what? Black could use the G file to his advantage sometimes. But now Queen G5, not sure you should have allowed that if you're Hans. I guess takes a Knight F5, maybe go for an advantage in the endgame. He is not slowing down though, that's for sure.
No, there's no way. You use that clock as a weapon. You continue to trust yourself. Players like Nepo and like Hans who play in this style, they're gonna do that, pretty much their whole careers. And you do see Nepo even blundering, full pieces at the highest level or blundering tactics, and you're thinking, oh my god, dude, you have 2 hours on the clock. Slow down.
Right.
That just won't change, I think.
Comes with the package. There's pluses and minuses to every approach, and yeah, it's super easy to pick out the negatives and say, well, should have taken longer, should have done this, but you try.
Exactly. And it comes as a stroke of genius when you see it work. It's like, oh my god, this guy's finding everything so quickly. It's
everything.
Like unbelievable.
Right. And here, Christopher is back against the wall. Knight F3 is a threat, though. Hans parrying that with King F1. This looking very grim for Black. As
Hans is playing
knight,
so well. Like
he is. Knight comes to D5, creating threats with every move. But Knight C4, I think he's allowed a trade. And even though that loses a pawn and maybe even the game after Rook D7 in the end, perhaps going for this is the lesser evil. I don't know.
Well, when you got a chance, you usually want to transition to a Rook endgame. The question is whether he evaluates the current position as as bad as maybe you do to suggest Knight C4, because you have to think this current position is like just untenable in order to consider Knight to C4.
Right. And okay, so he's not done it. Instead, he's going for something a little bit more stable. F4 by Hans. Yeah, just look at the energy in his play.
Great move.
Now Knight F5 on deck.
And the king is going to get up to F3. King F2 here looks like a very reasonable, slow, patient move. There's always G4 to solidify the F5 square. Yeah, I think just King F2.
Yep. Stabilize. Christopher trying to carve out some activity. King G3. Incredible play by Hans this game.
Yeah,
A5, and now it's rook E7, maybe.
yeah.
And
There's
rook
always
takes
like
A2. I would go A4.
Yep, I was gonna say there's always an A pawn to be on the lookout for.
Rook coming to C3 though. But a bit of activity that Hans has just allowed with his last move.
And again, it's live by the sword, die by the sword. Instead of rook E1, that's absolutely a position where with double the time your opponent, you take a moment there and you know you're much better. You look for a knockout blow, but it's just not going to happen. He's going to keep playing fast, and you see his advantage nearly disappearing entirely after his last couple moves.
Correct. And still, I think practically speaking, this remains an incredibly difficult position to play with black. Christopher has done a phenomenal job activating his rooks. The issue for him is how does he transmute that activity into something specific? Rook A1, he continues to try to poke and prod, and maybe there will be something specific. Hans chasing away the other rook.
Yep.
Drop it back to H8, or you could go rook A-H1 back and go for some knight D4 tricks.
I think rook E2 next is a great move. Covering the second rank, covering A2. Here, I guess it didn't like allowing the check, but King G3, it actually doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter at all. That king is so safe, hiding behind the cocoon of his knight and pawns.
Beautiful. Knight H4, big idea.
Yeah, this is winning. I would say this is completely winning in human terms.
Knight
H4. Big White's play is so easy here.
He's done a really good job stabilizing. The rook on E3 covers the only weakness in his position, which is the B3 pawn. Everything else is totally safe.
Correct. And King F8, dropping the king back, trying to prepare in whatever way he can for knight F5, but you're not preparing for that. This is disastrous.
Knight D6. Uh-oh.
Ooh, that's going to be a knife. Christopher, maybe he's incredibly good at finding the sort of last chance. I would go rook D8 and knight D4. He goes rook A1. Maybe knight D6. He wants rook D1. I don't know. Rook E2 though.
Interesting. He wants the
did
H
not
file.
like that move.
Yeah.
King F3, rook F1. He starts harassing the king, and it's hard to keep these pawns protected somehow. What about King F2, rook takes G4, knight H6? Oh no, then rook G7.
Maybe King F2, rook G4, King F3, and then take the H file.
Oh.
Which
now,
I didn't think of until you said rook G1 takes G4.
Instead, Hans trading a pair of rooks. And look at the domination that White has in this position. Absolute domination. You can just walk the king to F5. No. Do not go king E4.
It's knight B4. This isn't.
Well, I mean, okay, this is still a game, king G7 F5.
This is definitely not a top tier conversion.
No. Yeah, A6, king D7, knight C5. These pawn endgames can be a draw all of a sudden. Whoa, F5 by Christopher.
Looks like a good move.
Practically a good move. And king F6, what is Hans doing here? King
knight
F6
takes
or
A5.
knight takes A5. Knight takes A5 was a draw.
Yeah, knight takes A5 was a draw 100%.
And here it seems like he's let this slip. I don't know how.
Knight D6, knight B5.
Spot.
Knight D6, knight B5, and I don't think the knight.
Whoa! King takes F4. Wait a minute.
Well, the knight can guard from B5 here, so this looks just like worse, basically.
I would go king takes F4.
Oh, you have to take
probably
F4
even better.
there. Wow.
That looks like a draw according to the eval bar, but
knight C2.
Knight C2 and knight B4.
That's the one.
That is the one. Will he see it?
Have to take that pawn.
Nope, he doesn't. Does not find it.
King C5 now is huge. Oh, he's really got. Oh, he's messed this up so badly.
Wait, but still not over. Still not over. This might be a draw. No, A7 is winning. Oh my gosh, this is just a hot mess, this game.
And I think this is the normal feeling that people are going to have when watching a game between these two, especially just the way their styles match up and the way they play. Hans is going to play fast all the time, which means you're going to see evaluation swings nonstop because he's going to be missing moves, but he's going to be putting constant pressure on his opponent on time that once in a while, Christopher is going to miss moves as well.
Yeah, and it is true when you're even. I think everyone's guilty of this. When you're watching with an eval bar, you get the sense, oh, what are these players doing? I am using that phrase because I think Christopher was capable of finding at least one of those draws.
Yeah.
But he saved that rook endgame, and it's so easy. When you've got a second, all you're looking at is your clock, and you feel that panic rising in your throat. Like, I got to move, and it's so hard to get into the headspace of calculation and forcing yourself to hunker down with 5 seconds on the page. You can't imitate that feeling from the side because you don't feel the reality of being essentially against the wall, almost losing on time.
Yep, it needs to be said for sure. It also needs to be said that Christopher's got the first opening that I'm a big fan of.
Yeah, this is a good position. Of course, b5 looks like it wins a piece, but he can just take the bishop, I guess, and then take the pawn on b5.
Yep.
Christopher going for that trade anyway, probably wants c4, clamping down on that pawn. So I would consider b5. I would have considered b5. I don't know why Christopher's not going c4.
Yeah, c4 clamping down seems necessary.
Simple positional move.
Rook d8.
a4 also white is better, of course, but c4 was sort of an automatic move, I think. Queen f1, I guess. He wants to go after that pawn, but now b4 simply. But then c4. And then maybe b3. I don't know how white or black should handle this.
Or knight a5 here, threatening knight b3 and knight c4 getting in.
Excellent move. Rook a d1, d5.
This is also reasonable because, black gets d5, and I think we both have the feeling that, like, if black gets d5 safely, he should be very, very happy.
Which he is, and he has. And again, this time Christopher, I think he maybe told himself mentally to accelerate. But I like his time management. I think that was not the problem. So I think maybe he's gone a little bit too fast here himself. Still, this is a very complex position. It's unclear. White's got the 2 bishops, and anything could happen.
Yeah, black's clinging for dear life to this extra pawn on e4 that he's got after something like knight d2. He might move this knight from e7 because white's maybe threatening bishop takes knight on e7, bishop takes b5. So maybe like knight f5 or knight g6. Actually, knight g6 to f4 looks like a decent idea. A nice advantage. Nice advantage.
All right. g3. He goes f3, trying to clear the air a little bit here. Yeah, that is an interesting move, isn't it?
Bishop d5 to me looks like
it
looks like a kind of
now knight e4. Sorry. Bishop d6 potentially a threat. Knight f7. Good move by Hans.
Hey, rook d8 if you want. Go for trades.
Yeah, then Christopher probably moves his rook away to a1.
Yep, with bishop d6 looming.
Yep.
And rook a7.
Whoa.
He definitely
missed it.
Yeah, exactly.
He definitely missed it.
This is one of those moves where you 100% missed it, but he might still be okay here because he can move his queen somewhere and then take on e4.
Yeah, but the thing is, if you move the queen back to c8, then after something like bishop takes d8, fe, bishop b4, knight d8, you have this very nasty move rook a8, and
that's true.
That knight can end up getting chopped up by white's pieces. Okay, queen c8 played.
He has to go for it, right? Because
I mean, knight c5 is also possible, maybe.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, white could choose knight c5. I meant that if bishop takes
black
d8,
had to go for it. Yeah.
Black is kind of forced into this whole thing.
Queen takes 8. Okay, rook a8 wants bishop c8. That is interesting. That is interesting. I would go rook a8. I think this is your only chance probably to get this on the board.
A calm move like h or g3.
Yeah, h3 to create the h2 skirt because bishop f5 looks crushing, but okay, black can survive with knight d6, and if a knight lands on c8, then the other knight could protect it with knight g7. So let's see. Christopher taking his time. Hans is slowed down here as well, to a degree. Not entirely, but
all relative. All relative.
Right.
And we could definitely get a really interesting imbalance in this game. with like rook against certain two minor pieces.
Yeah, I've always felt that the rook is the easier side to play in such positions because, I mean, first of all, queen takes b5 here has to be considered. Just snag a pawn. And we know how Christopher has been playing this match. He's taken those free pawns, bishop b7.
100%.
Probably allowing a perpetual, but I guess he wants to.
Well, I think Hans wants to play like it's amazing not to play queen d1 check there.
Right, at least
because that's almost a forced perpetual, isn't it?
Yeah, but two knights I've always been skeptical about. Queen takes c5 probably is the safest option. White is not risking here too much. Probably just a draw with the perpetual. Hans maybe will play h6 or something. You got to be careful with black. Queen takes b5 is a threat.
Right.
You've got to go queen d1, make a draw.
Yeah, I think it's necessary. Oh, he's really playing with fire. He wants to play queen b7 and play the game.
But the thing is, white can move the rook even back to a1, and unless, correct me if I'm wrong, Aman, but with a rook and a queen this active, and the knight's this passive, I'm not sure, like, even in the best case scenario, I don't think black is playing for a win here.
I mean,
by the way, queen b7, rook c8. Wait, queen e7? What the heck?
That's a good point.
Queen takes e7, wins the game.
He's hoping for some sort of, like, check to win the rook, but, I mean, it's just not going to happen.
He missed queen takes e7.
It's a simple one mover, and unless he's got some brilliancies here.
King e1, king f2, king g1, king f2, and queen e2, and the game is over. And Hans threw that one away.
He doesn't have. Well, he's got to
king
bring
e3.
The king up now. King e3.
Nice, good job by Christopher here.
Not a single check.
It's over.
Yeah, and you can see the frustration there.
Yeah,
that's a queen f2 is a I'm about to resign move.
Right. Wow.
Yeah, I think at that point it was more that Hans was in the mindset of, hey, I've actually got a serious deficit in this match. I need to maybe play this position on, like, two knights against the rook. Whereas objectively, or maybe if he was the white pieces, he would understand the advantage was probably in white's favor. So just getting a little over optimistic there.
Yeah, you can understand the impulse. You can definitely understand the impulse to.
He's behind.
If he feels like there's an imbalance, maybe he can play for it, but not sensing the danger there. And this is a positional line where black is the one with an isolated queen pawn. We saw a situation where white's pawn was on d4. Here, I've always been bad at these positions with both sides. Like with white, I will allow some d4 breakthrough. But with black, I will invariably get blockaded and then lose a long game. So this is a difficult position to play. And the roles have reversed a little bit here. Black is the one with this idea of bishop, maybe a7, b8, and then queen to d6 with a battery. So white's got to be very precise.
Yep, 100%. And he goes bishop a7. Doesn't always mean the plan is bishop b8 for black.
Right.
Most likely rook c8 first, so that if you go bishop b8, you're not cutting your rook on a8 out of the action.
Mm-hmm. Also play, these in general improving moves. This might be a little bit too slow. But wait, bishop takes d4 now.
Yeah,
is often going to be the proper bishop d4, bishop h5, bishop e5, and then d4. Right. Black is equalized. The thing is, what you don't want to do is take here. I don't think Christopher's going to do that because it allows a blockade in an ideal position. He's gone knight takes d4, knight f5. That seems quite a bit more awkward, but still maybe interesting.
Now bishop f3, well, for sure it's a better version for white because b7 is just hanging.
Right. Oh, I don't like that though. I feel like the two pieces, we have another two piece for a rook. Christopher may be emboldened by the last game, but now it's two bishops rather than two knights.
That just looks like I would even call that a blunder.
Yeah, that's a disaster for black.
Do you think that he planned that the whole way type of thing, or just sort of spur of the moment, realized that D pawn was falling, D4 was not looking the best, and was like, okay, I get 2 pawns for the two pieces, let's go.
I mean, very, very superficial here. I mean, I guess that he thought about that D pawn. Yeah, the 2 pawns. He saw D4, maybe was attracted by that. But the reality is, I mean, when your opponent has 2 bishops and your king is as weak as it is, bishop takes h6 is possible here potentially.
I like bishop.
I'm shocked. I'm very surprised that he didn't play bishop takes d4 because that just seemed like a pretty much slam dunk way to stabilize the situation. Now, the game is not over. We've seen Christopher climb back from these kinds of positions, and Hunt continues to play instantly.
Yeah.
But this looks so winning.
It does. Bishop takes g7 is a huge threat as well. So I was going to say pretty much has to take that. And
Queen b3.
Queen d2 to g5. Christopher is fighting on here, but I think Hans has a lot of nice options.
Knight f4 looks good. Queen d6, queen f5. Which you don't want to do with white is trade queens, like under any circumstances.
Yeah.
Queen h4 is excellent move. Knight coming to h5. This is going to be totally devastating.
Knight to h or d5 into the dark squares. But yeah, knight h5 comes with some added punch of maybe the g file and going to g7. Knight d5, though, has the idea of knight e7 to f5.
By the way, to those saying Christopher, is underrated. I mean, he's definitely underrated, but he's, I think, also 2,500 FIDE. So he's not just any old IM, and it's important to not forget that. He's made a name for himself. Queen e5. Wait a minute. Rook f5, rook d1. Do not play rook f5 here.
Correct.
Do not play rook f5. I repeat. Nothing to see here. Please disperse.
Maybe
Queen f2. Whoa, rook d6. Oh my god, this is a huge blunder, I think. Come on. Rook d6 dislodges the knight. The knight defends the bishop. What is going on here?
It's crazy how it
Queen f2.
It's just not his day. Like his instincts are truly, they're really good. Like Hans is playing so quick, so fast, so accurate, but he slips once, and that's all it takes. Christopher pounces on every single major blunder that Hans makes.
That's exactly right. Knight h7, beautiful looking move, but I guess after queen e4, knight f8, maybe queen e7, and that knight is toast. And Christopher's going to find it. There are literally no other moves, so you have to take on e4.
Yeah,
whether it wins or
take
loses.
on e4, and then after knight takes f8, it's more or less, can he find a decent queen move somewhere? And Christopher is going to find it.
He's got a lot of time on the clock here, and Christopher doing a good job. He senses that if he can pull this one out, I mean, he can pull anything out. Queen d5 also possible. This is a draw. I mean, Black's king is extremely weak, so White should have enough compensation for the pawn, but what a heartbreaker this one is for Hans.
Yeah, I like queen b2 check to maybe say, okay, if you're gonna get my knight, then I get queen h8. King is running around. This one I feel like I like a bit less.
Queen e6. Start playing for a win with Black. Unreal. But yeah, you mentioned it. I mean, Hans's instincts are phenomenal. His intuition is phenomenal. And you can see that shining through, but he's got to find a balance. You got to negotiate that with the necessity to stay precise against someone like Christopher. And that has been the missing bit for Hans in this match so far.
And precision is basically Christopher. Like those two go hand in hand. Christopher has been so precise, and it takes a special player to call out every single blunder from your opponent, because Hans has been playing like a series of 10 fast, 100% accurate moves, and then one kind of blunder or inaccuracy. And every time there's an inaccuracy, Christopher is right there on the money with the reply. It's super impressive.
Indeed, and Hans offering a draw. Surprisingly, Christopher declines it. I think 2 declines now. No, but why decline it? I don't know. This is a draw.
Well, rather,
maybe Christopher wants king f5, king e4. Don't laugh at me, but he might be playing this for a win, which is incredibly gutsy, because you could lose this as well. I mean, you could end up succumbing to some weird pawn race situation. Rook c7 cutting off the king, of course.
Small detail. I might have preferred king d5 instead of king d4, so that there was a rook e4 check.
Very good point.
To take the pawn. And now he's basically just 100% going for it. Whoa. And I think white ends up sacking the rook here. King h5, g4, h4, and I think we get our draw eventually.
Yeah, this is a classic situation. Wait a minute. Now Black has to be careful too. Rook e4 and b3, I think, should be played, because then you will not be able to take the h6 pawn. That's a very important detail.
Mm-hmm.
But if I were Christopher, I would have taken that draw. And I know it's very easy for me to say that. He senses he wants to strike while the iron is hot. If he wins this game, that would truly be
Yeah,
beyond
exactly.
devastating.
Exactly.
Rook e5. Okay. Now, what is the idea against a6? I guess he wants to cut the king off. That's the point. Whoa.
Ooh,
Rook
b5.
a7, though.
Not true. Yeah, sorry.
And then rook a5. I think black's in danger of losing this. Rook a5 first. I like that move. Oh, but rook takes a6 is the idea. Beautiful. Fine by Christopher. And Hans probably has to keep his rook on the b file, and that's going to be very close. He takes it.
I hate that decision.
I really do too.
I think that it's an easy decision for people to make when it comes to a bullet game or blitz game. But let me tell you something. Between two GMs, white should have absolutely no chance of winning this. Black wins a queen against a rook. Black wins a queen against a rook and a pawn. And a lot of the times, black wins a queen against a rook and two pawns. I know that sounds surprising. Look how safe it is. You leave the rook on f5, but you would be amazed at the amount of zugzwang positions you can put the white king in.
Zugzwang is the key word here, because very often you get a situation where any king or rook move, either the rook move disattaches the rook, so rook g5, queen h7 is mate. Other rook moves disattach the rook from its anchor point, and moving the king leaves the h4 pawn exposed. So that's exactly how you try to win these positions. Now for Christopher, this is the last game of the match. You're not under any risk of losing. You keep trying to induce zugzwang and try to get Hans impatient. Now, probably white can hold the draw here because there might be no fork in such situations, but still, you keep trying, and you show basically who's boss. Queen b5 is almost a fork, but fortunately for white, there's rook f5. I would try queen b5 and maybe queen e2. Don't let the pawns get too far, though, if you're Christopher.
Yeah.
And this is, I think, a draw.
Yeah,
but still, not a good decision by Hans.
He's making Hans sweat it out, for sure.
Keeps on checking. He's going to move his king, probably.
It needs to be a king move pretty much now.
No,
otherwise it will be a draw.
And he realizes that, okay, he wants to rest. And incredible still, the save in this game to bring him to a 4-point lead after the 5-minute segment. Lots of stuff here to chew on for the players.
No, it's really, really well said, because he's bringing a huge lead into the break here. The 5-minute portion is wrapped up. There's definitely a lot more chess to happen. Hans needs to make a comeback. But speaking of Hans, we have a video to show you guys featuring a compilation of his best moves, which will bring you guys in the break. And a reminder that you do need to be subbed to see these videos. So not just today, but throughout the GSCC and just here in general. We're going to have lots of videos to bring you, which are sub only. So subscribe on Twitch. If you're not already, you can use that Twitch Prime to do so. But we've got a Hans Niemann best move video to bring you in the break. And when we come back, we're going to have the 3+1 portion in this JSCC matchup.
Funmaster Mike is here to show you the best move of Junior Speed Chess Championship player Grandmaster Hans Niemann, the subject of a recent Chess Life cover article. Now, what is Hans's best move? This may not be as impressive as some of the other moves, but it's impressive in a different way. Last year, he was playing at the Sunway tournament in Spain, and he needed to cross 2,500 to become a GM. He'd already had all of the norms, and he did it in a game where he didn't capture a piece. Has anybody in history ever become Grandmaster before in a game where they didn't capture a piece? Yeah, maybe there was like some 7-move draw to clinch a norm, but I can't prove any of that. Instead, let's see how Hans did it against Grandmaster Sebastian Maze. And in this position, what's been kind of impressive that I haven't been able to show you is all of the build-up on the king side, which you can kind of see by what's happening. But the winning move is just out of nowhere. On the left side, knight a4. That's it. That's all. I'm a Grandmaster. Again, I'm not. Hans is. Hans is the one that put in the time. And there's just no defense to knight takes b6. It's not even just a pawn. It's actually complete destruction, because knight takes b6 is going to fork the queen and the rook. So the best idea, which is not much of an idea, is for Sebastian Maze to maybe, go to the bar and have a drink. No, just kidding. The best move is probably queen to d8. But then we just take, the rook has to move, and Hans would probably just take the bishop, then have control over the light squares for the entire rest of the game. After takes, his knight gets to sit comfortably in the lazy boy recliner on knight f5. And there you go. That's a pretty cool way to become a GM. You just kind of, focus your opponent on one side and boop, you go tiddlywinks on the other side. No captures at all, because after knight a4, black resigned. Hans is America's newest Grandmaster, and we will see if he can replicate any amazing moves like this in his match today.
And welcome back. We have the 3+1 portion of this exciting matchup between Hans Niemann and Christopher Yu coming up. But first, wanted to remind you guys about the most fun way to learn and play chess. That's right, the ChessKid Adventure app. If you download that and subscribe, you get full access to ChessKid as well. 2 memberships for the price of 1, quests, bosses, puzzles, games, and so much more in the app. So check it out. It's in the App Store right now. And Dania, we are getting back into a matchup which has a deficit that you may have not expected going into this. What does Hans have to do in order to right the ship? Do you expect his chances to improve as the time controls get shorter?
Well, yes, in short, definitely. And anybody who would not expect his chances to improve in the time control, in the shorter time control, would be a fool, to be honest. But see, the thing is, of course, Christopher also will accelerate the pace of his play.
Right.
And the precision that Christopher has displayed in time scrambles will serve him incredibly well, because presumably we're going to get more time scramble situations. And if you're Hans, I'm a broken record, but you got to find the balance. You can continue playing fast, but got to tell yourself, I'm going to focus on the critical moments, and I'm going to remember to take 10, 15 seconds in positions when I can sense that a win is nearby. So let's watch what happens. Many things could happen here. I could see this going both ways.
Mm-hmm.
As we have another Ponziani.
And this is this C3 move, I think Christopher realized that was absolutely his best opening by far. So I love his decision to return to that. Let's see if the game proceeds in a similar manner, though.
There's something going on here with Hans. He's putting his hands up. Okay, now it looks like everything's putting his hands up. I cannot resist. You just don't understand. Whoa, B4? Wait, are you supposed to allow this?
I'm not sure. Doesn't look.
I don't think so.
I mean, you mean like pawn takes d5 type of thing? Like if there's c4, c5, like immediate loss?
The thing is, there's bishop f3, bishop d4. So this is a saving grace for, excuse me, for black. But bishop b2, and here comes c4. Here's Johnny, and c5 is, of course, a threat. Now, you do weaken the d4 square, which black could even occupy as early as dc knight d4. But that endgame, that pawn on d4 could become a weakness in the end.
Yeah, so it'll probably be a knight d4 move. I think it has to happen. And we should see mass trades here.
Knight d4. 7, yeah, and I thought white's better here. Takes rook d1.
c5, knight c6.
Ooh, that's a nice idea, isn't it? c5, bc. Whoa, what is this?
Castle. Interesting.
What
He's
is
saying
this?
that the d file is compensation. Yeah.
That's a good idea. No, there was a direct idea. Now, what? Still, I feel like, despite the eval bar, objectively speaking, it's quite difficult position to play for black, because if you lose this pawn, you'll be worse.
Right.
How is Hans going to negotiate this?
Oh, that's a strong move, though. It's nearly winning. It's very good, though. It's at least going to net black a pawn here.
And probably even more, as the situation is deteriorating rapidly for Christopher.
Yeah.
95, though. Did he just allow rook takes d4?
He did. He did, and that is, I mean, blessing and a curse. Today it's been mainly a curse. Hans, just quickly, time and time again, he was crushing there. I mean, he's getting these amazing openings, playing so well for a number of moves, and then the blunders that he's committing are being capitalized on immediately.
They are uncharacteristic. Knight c3, though. Ooh, but I guess knight c3, rook c2. Very tricky move by Christopher. Good calculation here. Knight d3, rook c2, rook b1, rook d2, and white is okay.
Yep.
As Hans, he is taking more time. Maybe just go g5 and prevent f4.
Yeah, I like the idea of g5.
Although bishop c2 kind of traps the rook a little bit. Now f4 looks good, but then maybe knight g6. Instead, Christopher trying to trap that rook with bishop c2. It's not that he's going to win the rook. Hans walking his king up.
The king is going to be annoying here. Don't underestimate. King c5, king d4, king c3.
Right. I guess king... Where should you go? King d2, king b4, though.
Yep. Not to b4, but to d4 is covering everything. That, you know, whichever way the white king goes, the black king is going to go the opposite way.
Wait a minute. Rook a1 and rook a4, king c1 is unstoppable, winning the rook.
Yeah. Oh, well, there you go. That's another reason why king d4 was absolutely necessary.
Right. And Christopher's going to steal this one.
Yeah, it's game over.
This is beginning to look very concerning for Hans, as he loses another game in exactly the same style in which he's just gone down the 5-minute portion. Now, probably even... No, I have 393, so Christopher correctly immediately winning the rook. This is a resignable position. Just take a7, rook a8, g8, and Hans resigns. And another one for Christopher.
Yeah, no need to prolong that one. If you're Hans, you need as much, well, a high volume of games is going to be beneficial. And we see a total switch up here, as now we're in like a Jobava London system.
Yeah, and Christopher playing a very popular line nowadays. This prevents white from playing e4. c4 by Hans. Hans has this analyzed pretty deeply, though. He's been playing the Jobava a lot in blitz.
Right.
c4, though, we have almost a kind of a Queen's Gambit-like position. This happens in the Queen's Gambit accepted this particular structure, but DC, I don't know. Knight d5 looks pretty good for black here.
Yeah, you get this kind of standard position you might even get from a Queen's Gambit, where black's knights end up on c5, d5, the bishop's supporting. And, you know, it's not better for white by any stretch, but it's really easy to play for black. Knight d5, bishop g3, knight e4. And all of a sudden you're losing that bishop, and it just seems like the gameplay is very flowy for black.
Right. Knight d5, yeah. Bishop g3, knight e4. But bishop takes a6, I guess is the idea.
Yeah, now that the rook's moved from a8, keep an eye on that a6 pawn, and bishop d6 played instead.
And again, Hans has a very nice position here. Let's see if... I mean, he's got to convert one of them.
Yeah, he really does. Queen c7 keeps an eye on that a pawn. So remember, both sides here have to be super conscious of their a pawns. Rook c1, queen takes a5. Knight e4, bishop takes a6. Exactly.
Two mutual weaknesses. Hans, very positional idea, pushing that pawn up to g5, clamping down on black's king side. The problem is there's nothing going on the king side, so this might be in vain, and pawn on g5 could become weak later. Let's see how Christopher handles this one.
It's going to require constant attention, but
Ooh.
based on, how it's developed here, I'm looking at dark squares and saying thank you very much.
Yeah, I mean, I'm indicating this knight h2 idea probably doesn't work concretely because of something like queen e5. Pawn's going rook c1. C1, okay, but I guess queen e7 black is okay. And then maybe at some point e4, but no, that gives up. Ooh, Christopher with a very committal decision there. Might not be bad, but we'll see.
Woo, Christopher. Nice one. That was one of your better ones. Unintentional.
Oh, that was completely unintentional. Of course, and that's why it was good, right, Aman?
I know.
Is that what you're implying?
Me pointing it out, it actually became mine at that point.
Exactly. You claimed it. Hey, what is that card game? Egyptian War? What is that? The game where you have to slap and take the cards?
Oh, I think I call it speed.
Okay.
But with card games, that's the type of thing where there's like 20 different names for the same game.
Right, exactly. The same game. And tiny different variations. No, you can slap on a 3 of diamonds. No, you can't.
Okay, that pawn made a serious journey, by the way, all the way up to b3.
Yes, it did, and it was summarily executed on b3. But here's the thing: although Black has lost the pawn, he's gained a pretty serious initiative, an excellent piece placement. e4. He's going to win the pawn on g5. What did I say about that pawn? It has become a weakness, and it's been captured. Black is better again. Somehow this time, Hans, while not making any blunders, has drifted into a really bad position.
Yeah, knight on b4, guarding a6 as well. So when you have 3 pieces all watching the pawn on a6, it's what we call overprotection. And the reason you do that is now all 3 pieces can move at will without losing that pawn.
Right. That's a great way of explaining it. Knight d3 has to be reckoned with in various positions, because if the pawn removes itself from e4, then the g2 square is going to be threatened by the queen and the bishop. f4. Ooh. Very committal, but Han's trying to change the structure a little bit, get some air for his pieces. Yep. Problem is now look at these weaknesses.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of f4, but as the game develops, I totally get it. Like, he wants something, and f7 is what he's looking at. He's not going to sit there in a slightly worse position and just accept that.
Correct. But now Christopher not worried about any of these tactics. He doesn't see anything concrete, and neither do I. Knight g3. Wait a second. There's got to be something for Black here.
Well, knight g3 is just simple.
Rook f7 and knight takes e2 is check. And after bishop takes f7, queen takes f7. This is elementary, my dear Watson. Queen f2, and that's an exchange. And Christopher reinforcing the f7 pawn. This one should be a pretty straightforward win, unless Hans creates any chances. Maybe queen g3.
The thing is, Hans is playing these games a little bit like they were bullet games. If that's a comparison, like, they're not totally accurate games, and in bullet, you're not expecting your opponent to be as accurate, but he is facing pinpoint accuracy from Christopher every single move, and you can't play in this loose kind of I'm not calculating everything style and expect it to work out.
Indeed, and Christopher, let's not take anything away from him. We've been focused on some of these blunders by Hans, but the way Christopher has played is absolutely breathtaking. That's not to say he hasn't made mistakes. He has. But when push comes to shove, in all of the critical moments, it seems that he plays, as you said, with pinpoint accuracy. And he's converted almost all of his advantages. Yep. Super impressive. Of course, I'm going to jinx him now. Hans has succeeded in creating chances, but then rook h5, I thought, and maybe knight back to f6.
Yeah, draw.
Now all of a sudden, Hans thinking when I feel like he could play fast. Maybe he's trying to get low on time and tempt Christopher into playing fast himself. Looking for chances here.
Seconds.
Oy. Now Hans getting into his first time pressure of the match. Queen h4.
It has to be just h1 moving. The queen is well defended, so there's no tricks like knight h5 check.
Simply h6, also good. I don't get that move, queen h4. I think it helps Black establish his defenses, and rook g5. Oh, queen c7, but then rook takes g2. Because knight e8 fork. And this is not going to cut it for Hans. He's going to lose another one. Yeah, and the queen takes c8. Takes g2, and then queen and something. Bishop e4. Oh, even more precise. Look at that move. And Hans resigning another one. This is
These
a
are
disaster here. Now, let's not forget Prague was up 6 points and lost to Parham.
yep.
We've seen comebacks from this kind of situation before, but man, not if he continues playing like this.
And Hans, like he's letting this match slip away, but if there's one time control that his style is going to be like super effective at, it's the very last one.
Yeah.
So we could see his style, especially like the more frustrated he gets, the faster he's going to play. And Hans's move accuracy doesn't really slip the faster he plays. It seems sort of constant. He's going to play a lot of really good moves, and he is going to blunder from time to time or make inaccuracies, but he's not going to do it more often with less time. I feel like it's very constant. So when it comes to the bullet, he could put up a very big score. The question is the match just going to be out of reach by the time it gets there?
That's exactly right. And if you're Christopher, without a doubt, you're playing ambitiously. You're playing for a win every single game. You want to push this up to 10 going into the bullet, because you're absolutely right. Hans is capable of winning almost every bullet game. Not to suggest that Christopher is a slouch at bullet. He's not. But let's be real. Hans is a very, very heavy favorite in the bullet. And Christopher's time consumption is just not going to bode well in that section. So if you're Christopher, yeah, you're not stopping at 6. You want this lead up to 8, 9 going into the bullet. So you can sustain even a disastrous result and still be on top. Now, bishop takes f5 was interesting here, sacking the bishop to open up black's king position. I think he sees it. He's thinking about it. You can also take it and go b4. I think that might have been another blunder by Hans. No, Christopher going for bishop takes f5.
Wow. I'm telling you,
like
bishop f5 these are the kind of moves that whether or not they're sound, they're good. It doesn't matter. These moves are so frustrating to see as black, and you never want to play pawn takes.
But now c4 looks incredibly devastating, and Christopher again seeing it. Now the eval bar didn't like it, but I do, and now the eval bar likes it as well.
This isn't amazing. White wins these positions pretty much 10 times out of 10, or at least they win them 10 times out of 10 against me. Let me tell you that.
That's correct. And
this is so scary.
Oh my gosh, d6. I mean, how is this not amazing for white? The eval bar's like, yeah, it's equal.
Yeah,
like rookie 1, e6 is coming. Like, come on, d5 and e6. Okay, d5 I like less because I feel like you should attack with your pieces here rather than with pawns.
Yes.
And,
if he plays e6, that's the breakthrough. You want your queen on d5, for example, not the.
But Hans playing this in a way where the eval bar is not. E6 looks winning for white. Takes rookie 1. I guess like b3 or c3, and black does create serious chances now against white's king as well, or maybe b3, a3, and then c3. Okay, Christopher has to go for it.
Black might want to play knight f6 as well.
Right. Oh, nice move. Just stabilizing and controlling some key squares.
Yeah, like maybe knight e4 or covering h5 as well. Just kind of getting everywhere.
b3 by Hans.
Okay, this is a reasonable move to throw in first. I don't mind.
Yeah, it certainly doesn't hurt. And I guess there is rookie 7 check to calculate, but it's premature. Christopher correctly playing a3.
And c3, definitely a consideration, but you sort of have to make a choice here between full attack commit and, maybe the knight f6 more trying to control the attack from white.
The amazing thing is black is not really threatening anything because you could sustain c2 and go king c1. Now, that's not good, but, I mean, you could buy yourself a tempo. Of course, queen takes c3, not entirely out of the question, but it kind of is. Maybe rookie 7 check is interesting here. There's a lot to calculate, and this is where the time situation comes into black's favor. Whoa.
That's almost the last move I would have expected.
Queen takes a3? I don't get it at all.
b2.
Oh, he wants rookie 7 check. Now, there's something wrong with this, and I can't... Oh, queen a2 check, and rook takes h3 at the end.
Well, queen a2 is a nice way, if you're ever worried about just getting mated, you just always have a bailout, which is great. So you're okay as black here. Knight f6, I love it. King is safe on g6.
Yep.
Queen a2, the intention. Knight e4 next. You're really sailing.
Wow. And Christopher has lost the thread here. That's going to be a big win for Hans. If he would have lost this one, he would have been down by 7. That would have been even more disastrous. He's still got a lot of work to do.
You might go like bishop h4 here, something weird.
Yeah, try. But then queen a2 check probably is practical because you win the bishop in the end.
Exactly. So this queen a2 move forcing the trade of queens is so important in the position.
But no position is safe. I mean, Hans has to prove that he's capable
Like
of
I would play
stringing
queen
together accurate
a2
moves.
immediately. Queen a2
Right,
takes
right.
94, to me is over.
Yeah. Because rook h3, like potentially rook e7, and then there's a g file check there. And Hans, I think, very correctly deciding on queen a2.
Okay.
Still c4. I don't know about rook takes h3. I think knight e4 was game over.
Yeah, it's probably going to
Rook
be game over next move as well.
Yeah. Rook e3, though, some work is required. Okay,
I think he's doing a good job
so far. I don't know about that one, but I guess c4, knight d6. Christopher, desperation here. Good attempt for sure. Hans has to root out that d pawn, or else we'll go c4, c5.
Nice. Now he gets the rook here, though. I think he's controlled. Nice.
Yeah, rook b6 is very, very nice, and the game is over. Feels like an eternity since Hans has won a game.
Absolutely. Hans, it's fair to say that he needed that for obvious reasons, but just mentally as well, he needs to get on the board against Christopher, just humanize him a little bit.
Right, exactly. I can win games, and he came back from a position which almost certainly was losing, and you know what? I jinxed him. I take responsibility for Christopher's loss. That bishop takes d5 tech. I think I still stand by the thought that it was good.
Yeah,
I just think that in that particular scenario, maybe something more practical, or after c4, yeah, maybe something like dc and b4, that idea might have given an advantage. Hans repeating the Jabava and playing instantly here.
Yeah, I feel like he really knows. He knows something that not everyone else does. How about this?
That's exactly right. Knight takes c4. Kind of like his position here.
Yeah, knight takes e4, knight takes d4. You start to question, moves like bishop d6. Is that just winning? And when your opponent, like if you're Christopher here, and your opponent starts to play instantly in the opening, hey, guess what? You can tell yourself he knows something that maybe you don't. So you always start to second guess your moves that little bit more.
That's right. p5, Christopher. I think he's gearing up for the eventuality the white castle's queenside. Not entirely unlikely. I kind of like that move. I think Christopher should play aggressively. If he can win this game, that'll be a big psychological blow for Hans, who perhaps is hopeful that he's going to string together his first 2-game win stretch of the match. But now bishop g4 looks real good, stopping white from castling. Oh, that's a knife.
That's a dagger. Like, I mean, bishop f3, and hey, pick your poison. I don't think your king wants to be anywhere. Not the middle, not the queen side, not the king side. It's like there's no place for him.
Right, Christopher's vibing.
Right.
Bishop f3, rook g3. Okay, Hans. Now it's a disastrous position for white. Don't go queen d7 here. Maybe just move the king to the side.
Right. Yeah.
So that you allows rook h3. Yep. But then queen d7.
Very tough position. I think Hans wants the queens probably, I want to say on the board, surprisingly, just because if they're off the board, it does seem pretty easy. And hey, your move, queen d7, he wanted to play it.
Wait, what?
Wow.
Oh, yeah, you want a castle, but you give up a full exchange to do that. That is too much of a price to pay, of course.
Yeah.
Nice move, bishop c7, but
bishop g3 now.
Rook e8, queen d3. Still chances for white for sure. Queen c3. You can really shoot for something here.
Probably rook fd8. No knight b6.
Right. You cannot allow a trade, massive trade of pieces, of course.
This is so tough. So tough.
Queen e6.
Yeah, and this knight is in a type of a pin where basically if you, well, now it's in a real pin, but trades are always benefiting black as well. So even if the rooks come up.
I think Christopher missed knight e3, actually. I don't like the move knight e7 at all. Still winning, but you give up the f3 pawn. Maybe the queen comes into a2, though. That's an important detail.
Yeah, like rook takes d8 and king b1, and f3 is still hid. And I think I agree probably with your first sentiment that yeah, knight e7 was not the move.
Yeah, of course, this is the game that Christopher really wants to win and take home and re-extend the lead back to 6. Already we've got 20 minutes after the 3-minute segment. And time, I would say at the halfway mark of the 3-minute portion, that's when the match clock starts being a concern for Hans in terms of a comeback.
Yeah.
Christopher trying to go a4 and provoke weaknesses on the queen side. Still want to get to that queen to a2. Ooh,
And
rook c8, queen b3.
Ooh, the accuracy is killing Hans
Insane.
here.
Yeah, bishop c7 is losing.
I don't see a move.
Wow.
Because I was gonna say, if you move back, if you take that bishop and put it on d4, like if somehow it could get there, tons of chances for white to even win, not just draw. But the accuracy of rook c8 here is just brutal with queen b3 coming.
Yeah. Goodbye.
e3
Queen takes a3. Rip.
Takes a3. Yeah.
Queen a3. Of course, the rook is hanging, so you do not want to take the bishop, but just queen c5. And this is resignable. And I would start conserving time because another 2 minutes off the clock in this game. I don't know.
Yep.
I wouldn't.
Done a good job to find a playable move here. The problem is, I think even if he survives this position enough to play it on, he might still lose it. And as you said, time is just disappearing from the clock.
Yeah, it is. It is. No, this is resignable. King c1. Hans trying, though. Can't fault him for being resilient. Queen e6 here looks good. Just destabilizing white's queen, dislodging it from f5. Uh-oh, rook a1 coming in. Coming in hot. And unstoppable queen f1, queen a1 is game over.
That's it. Yep.
Christopher is merciless amount in these positions. He just doesn't miss it.
I feel like when it's I feel like whenever there's a winning tactic, it's literally as if he's sat it down as a puzzle rush.
Yeah.
Someone's tapping him on the shoulder. It's like hey, there's a win here. And he finds it.
Wow. Yeah, very impressive. And I'm echoing your sentiment. I love the Ponziani choice. He's been getting good positions here almost every game. And that's another, we mentioned the word mature, another mature decision, not to keep stubbornly repeating the Rai Lopez, but to transition to an opening that has served him well. Now, will he play c4 here as previously? Probably not. Probably knight bd2 is more patient.
Yeah, he can still go for c4, but only if he identifies exactly how he should improve, because obviously he can't repeat into that line. But as expected, knight d2. He's not trying to relive bad experiences.
Right, he's got to be careful. Knight d4 is a classic tactic here that wouldn't win the game. You would be able to drop the queen to d1, but you certainly do not want to get rid of this bishop. White has to be accurate here. Maybe already it's time for b5, knight a5, knight b3, something like that. I don't love White's position here anymore, but Christopher seems to be very, very tricky, very good at these situations. Maybe d4, just make things explode in the center while black is unprepared for it. I think he's tempted by d4. c4. Okay, makes sense.
So idea being, if d4, he probably wants knight b3 or bishop a3, and he's looking to play c5. But I have to say, after d4, my instinct is that black is better. Some sort of c5 move, or even, I want to say almost even a6 or...
Yeah, all sides. And the knight could come to f7, reinforcing the 5 pawn, followed by pawn to f5, kind of making the other side of the board explode. Christopher has to be really careful here to preserve a playable position.
I actually really like a6 the more I look at it, because c5 actually undermines your own b pawn, and just go bishop a7 almost.
Or queen b5, I think.
Well, that's nice. Queen b5 is...
he's missed it.
Yeah, queen b5 is a sweet move.
And now he's allowed Christopher some chances here. c6, bc, I guess he played ba.
Yeah.
c5, though, looks interesting. Expanding once again. I don't know. Maybe
yeah,
that's too
c5, take, knight e6, bishop b6. I get the feeling that's good.
Queen b5. Okay, knight c6 by Hans. Yeah, black is better because in the very end, after rook takes a6, that pawn on e2 is going to become weak, and black has a ready-made plan of getting the rook involved to f8, rook fa8. Okay.
And do you take with the b pawn here?
I guess so. Yeah, he does. That b pawn is very well protected, and let's see if Christopher manages to hold this one, because he's gotten in trouble now 2 white games in a row. And Hans showing signs of hope. He's just playing a little bit more accurately, despite the last game.
Right.
G6, now G3, I guess. Bishop F1, also good. So not an easy task winning this position, of course. white is very, very solid.
Not at all. You've got this pawn on a3 that's like always loose, but so is the b5 pawn. So you get the feeling that if black ever has enough firepower to win a3, that he's also giving up all defensive duties on b5.
And it's easy to miss what Christopher just did. The concept of provoking a weakening move and then dropping it back. Again, so classy here. Knight aiming for c5. And Hans, you might have to take on b3, but that is not a bishop you want to part with. It was sort of gluing together black's position.
No, that's absolutely not what you want to do here.
Ooh, wait a minute. What is this? Knight c5.
He wants pawn takes a3?
D2, though. I don't buy it at all, though, Aman.
But pawn takes a3, just rook takes a3.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my lands. I miss rook takes a3. That's a beautiful tactic.
I'm not buying what he's selling, and neither is Christopher, who's going to play rook takes a3 in a heartbeat.
Also rush Christopher.
The accuracy, it's so impressive, and it's like a skill that'll win you matches for the rest of your life.
And rook c7. He is not letting him escape, striking while the iron is hot. And now queen b3 followed by queen b7 looks incredibly strong. Hans does have some back rank ideas, but at any moment, well, not right now, but at some point, black can play h3. Sorry, white can play h3. And here he has a choice between queen b3 and queen b7. I would give the check first and then go queen b7.
Queen b4
immediately also looks good.
Oh, queen b4 makes the most sense to me, just so two pieces are hit. And knight c6, you have like a queen c4 thing at the end. Queen b7 is obviously a great move as well.
Yeah. Rook a1 sets a very prosaic trap, which Christopher is going to see. He's going to move the h pawn.
Yeah. There it is.
Maybe knight. Okay. Bishop c8 is a nice move, though. Queen b3, bishop back to e6. It's complicating things a little bit here.
Yeah, this is sort of why I wanted queen b4. So the two pieces were definitely hanging. Queen b7, technically one piece was hanging, and he's found a nice way to save both of them.
Right. Very tricky move here. Bishop back to e6, of course. Christopher's got a draw in his pocket, but now this is a draw which would be quite painful. Hans is contemplating something, but I don't know what there's to contemplate.
Yeah.
You got to go for the repetition, and whether white takes it or not, it's not up to you. Well, got it? Not up to you.
They're getting better. You've latched onto the winning punchline.
It was unintentional as I was saying it, but then I recognized that it was an opportunity to make a play.
I could see the improvement.
Chat has to give me credit for that. Come on, guys.
I could see the improvement.
A queen b2, that's a very gutsy move, but a very good one. Christopher realizing that black has no tactics. Knight takes d3, of course, loses to the straightforward queen b3 check. I don't see anything going on in the back rank, and black's pieces are in crisis. Rook a7 played. Takes. Christopher's got to be breathing a sigh of relief. Now he's got another great move followed by g3.
Yep.
This should be winning.
You know, from Hans's perspective as well, I think he's happy to not have blundered any pieces in that last 10 moves. Like, he's kind of solidified, and if he arranges his pieces like knight f8, bishop e6, you know, and just gets the pieces all protecting each other, I think he's got great chances for a draw.
I agree. Now, Christopher has this idea of activating this. The bishop on e2 has to be, or bishop on f1 has to be activated. Maybe g3, h4, and bishop h3. g3 is a great move in general to limit the activity of the knights. Now, I think white's winning. It doesn't feel like black can save this position. h5 is good, though. h4, bishop e2, maybe.
Yeah, that bishop is coming to maybe b3, also maybe g4.
And that queen is coming into d6, using the opportunity provided by the knights leaving the center. And this is winning. Rook d7, queen b8, knight b6. Oh, or bishop g4.
He needs rook d8 along with knight e7.
Oh, f5, ef, and f6 is coming.
Apart.
Bishop f5 is even stronger. Everything falls apart. Hans might lose on time for the first time.
Yeah, that's a hanging rook as well.
Wait, no, that is a hanging rook.
Oh, hang on.
Wait a minute. Hang on. Bishop f5. Okay.
Okay, everything's
There's
covered.
no ideas. Yeah, just take the knight and e5 or whatever. Over. Wow. Another one bites the dust for Niemann.
That rook.
Yep. And here comes the pawn. And here comes the other one.
Yep.
And I think Hans will resign. He does.
He needs to resign. He's got half the time left in this 3-minute portion, which is the exact indication, Daniel, that we are going to be heading to a
Right.
break, and these players are going to have some time to reflect on how the 3 minute portion has gone so far. If you're Christopher, obviously taking that 10.5 to 3.5 lead at the first break is going to feel very good, but we'll see if Hans can make any sort of a comeback before we get into the bullet portion. So we'll be right back with more 3 minute chess after this. Hello, hello. We are back and bringing you the rest of the commentary for the 3+1 section. This is, I think, a really important last 30 minutes, especially if you're Hans Niemann. But story of the match so far, in my eyes, Dania, has been absolute pinpoint accuracy and precision from Christopher, calling out every blunder that Hans is making. And I think that that is just getting to Hans. It's frustrating him, and he's not able to put points on the board.
The lead is ballooned to 7, and Hans in the Twitch chat asking for patience. He seems confident, and Hans does have that ironclad confidence, self-confidence, which has served him very well in recent times. It's a 7-point lead. There's 30 minutes left in the 3-minute portion. Obviously, a comeback is very possible. There's more than enough time. But like I said, the way Christopher has played, I mean, he's put on an incredible performance. And I would caution against thinking that just because, Hans won a tournament, won several tournaments, he's going to win every single match he ever plays. Bullet and Blitz are streaky. And very often when you play a lot of classical tournaments in a row, in my experience, it's very hard to switch back to the Blitz wavelength. And it can be difficult to make that switch, particularly if you're tired from a tournament. So Christopher is a force to be reckoned with. So while this is definitely a surprising score, Christopher, we know to be capable of such things.
Yep, that's a great point. I was going to say I caution against this opening from Christopher again, but he's gone for it. I think Hans has got to be happy. Bishop back to b1. Like we've seen these ideas before. Maybe Black has a move like knight e4, which is usually when I see queen on d2, bishop on h4, that's the first thing that comes to mind.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Christopher's calculating it, but there's something about it he doesn't like. Hans eliminating the possibility. You could still play knight e4 and sack a pawn, but Christopher instead choosing this a6 b5 plan, which he has implemented very successfully. And the follow-up idea is probably going to be knight a5, knight c4, expanding on the queen side. Yes.
And are we going to see this bishop go the long way to f4? Bishop g5, bishop h4, bishop g3, bishop f4, and then maybe sack on h6?
The diamond, right. Queen b6. Now again, something about Black's position just seems a little bit fundamentally unsettled. Now knight a5 sneaks into b3. Ooh. Maybe
Queen
bishop
d3.
a2 is his idea. Yeah.
I mean, if you want to play the same position down to tempi that they had previously, then here you are. Because after knight c4, you really are down like, I think, 2 full moves from previous. The rooks used to be doubled on e2 and e1.
Right, and Christopher very confidently executing all of the ideas on the queen side. He's just confident in the knight on f6 and the bishop on e6. They're really gluing the position together. They're flimsy, but they're hard to dislodge. And after AB bishop takes b4, there start to be certain tactical threats like knight takes b2, etc.
Right.
Wow, again, this looks good for Christopher.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing. Knight a4, I would at least consider to try to maybe get into c5, even at the cost of a pawn, getting that dark square bishop. But he's gone for this, which, I mean, hey, the bishop on b1 is gone. And without that bishop, you generally don't have anything in this position as white.
Wow. This is another disaster for Hans. And despite all the promising positions he gets in this line, he just doesn't seem to manufacture enough chances on the king side. Christopher gets stuff going on the other flank. Yep. And in the blink of an eye, your position is falling apart.
Yeah, and if you're Christopher, hey, even if it's not supposed to be good, maybe he's even checked it. The bottom line is when it comes down to performance, game day performance, if your opponent is not beating you time and time again in these positions, keep going for them.
Absolutely. In a 5, very patient move. I did like knight e4 there. Hans taking the opportunity to prevent knight coming to e4, but there's no need for Christopher to burn any bridges. You can also go rook takes c1. He decides on a very peaceful approach.
I think your knight e4 move is maybe even better now.
I agree, because in the end, after knight e4 takes, the b3 pawn would fall, and a5 is an outside passer. Christopher instead going for rook c8, but this seems to equalize. I feel like he's lost most of his advantage here.
Yeah, as white, you really, really would love a world where you get the a pawn and the b pawn to disappear. Because black always has these chances with the bishops and an outside pawn that's pretty much enough to win an endgame.
That's correct. And looking pretty solid here. Queen b4 is generally the response, but then maybe the queen sneaks into e8, king h7. No, that looks okay for black. That bishop on e6 is super important. It's holding every pawn together.
I think
it's neutralizing the check. I
think it's actually better to keep the queen. Like queen b4 takes knight d3 was particularly concerning as maybe the guy just drops. But if you keep the queen on here, maybe try to get it down to c1, there's going to be good counterplay, I think, on the knight on f1 and all these weak pawns.
Right. Hans giving the check, dropping back to c6.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, queen b8, and Playing some cat and mouse here, both sides kind of poking and prodding.
Yeah, f3 was an idea there. You might think he's going back to
Ooh.
defend his pawn, but that was he was getting on that other diagonal.
Now here the knight could reroute to f5 potentially, so maybe Hans should involve his own knight. Okay, g4 prevents knight f5, but weakens the king side quite a bit. And Christopher, queen b4, queen c5. Knight b5 now still takes the knight c6 maybe. I don't know, then bishop d7. Probably a draw.
Yeah, there is knight f6 check at the end of that line.
Oh, ooh, that's a nice detail. But bishop e6 probably secures the draw.
Right. And there's a couple pawns hanging, just
Yep.
like f3, b3, take your pick. And if you are going to take either one, you generally want to take the outside pass pawn, as I think we're actually going to get our first like real, just full simplification to a draw.
Mm-hmm. If I'm Christopher, if I get a draw for here, I'm sitting for 50 seconds and then taking it.
Or
I mean, I know that's a little bit dirty, but I'm doing whatever I can to milk some more of it. Maybe you don't want to milk the clock. Maybe you're so confident in your ability to win the 3-minute portion that you continue to play, but still, that's an option. But I would slow down. I would milk the clock.
Yeah, do you take the draw after thinking for that long, or do you even play on?
Right, probably you play on. You make 50 moves here.
Yeah.
We've seen these games. They're very deflating.
By the way, I'm not even sure if, you know.
Black is better.
Yeah, exactly.
F5
King
at some
e5, f5.
But they look this is leads. Whoa. King e5. Wait a minute. You got to be careful if you're Hans. That knight could get in a little bit of trouble. Okay, he can evacuate it back to c3. f5.
Yeah.
Aman.
Well, bishop e8
got to be careful.
Happen.
And f4. Unfortunately, white's going to hold the draw, but
yeah, white's going to hold the draw. You heard us correctly.
A little bit too close for comfort. Black's going to do it from a position of strength. And again, sit the entire time here.
Yeah, you don't have
King
to play
f3. Whoa. This is, oh my gosh, this is close to zoom.
So close to winning.
Oh my God, Hans is like way too reckless here. He's pre-moving and it's a draw, but this is close. And if I'm Christopher, sit for 35 seconds. Just take it off the clock. Ooh. Oh, King h3 there was the idea, but man.
Keep in mind, the bishop is the correct color.
Right,
correct
exactly. So
color.
if you blunder your knight, you lose.
Yep.
But now the knight has run amok. Knight e7.
Yeah, it's just going to go pretty much anywhere it
h3
wants.
is forced, and then the knight can return and win the pawn. Okay, Christopher acceding to the draw. But a good job taking time off the clock.
Yeah, and he didn't just take time off the clock. He forced a few accurate moves out of Hans there that, you know, if you're playing too carelessly, like, oh yeah, this is winning for sure, then you can just lose that position all of a sudden.
Then I wonder if Christopher checked this line during the break.
It's a good question. Certainly this position is fine, and I think we'll know right now because bishop b2, I'm not sure is the most accurate move. And okay, it goes for bishop b2, so I think he's probably content to just play knight d2.
But he was worse. I mean, I'm a little bit surprised. Okay, f5, then b5 and takes in c4, I thought. Okay, so here he played something. Knight comes out to d7. That's a classic idea. And I like d4 a lot. I think that is the missing.
Yep.
That is the secret sauce.
He could have used that in his previous game as well. And it just, yeah, opens everything up. Bishop on b2 is going to be amazing. Black's knight is not quite developed, so he's still catching up. That diagonal, a2 to g8. Be on the lookout. Tactics are always lurking towards that king.
Yeah, fine goals. Be the first to tell us that. That's a great move. c4 pushing down the pawn right down Black's throat here.
Amazing.
The knight springing to action. Black's position is creaking on its hinges here.
Yeah, that's a fantastic move.
Yes, it is. Such energy in Christopher's play all match long. Now, Hans's quality of play has improved in the 3-minute portion. There's no doubt in my mind. But so has Christopher's. It's almost like he's risen to the occasion. He's accelerated the pace of his play and not sacrificed too much accuracy.
And bishop b2, queen e7, bishop a3. Watch out.
Right.
It's very uncomfortable.
Maybe knight b6 is his idea, followed by knight d4. That's what Christopher has to reckon with.
Right. Yep. It might be met with queen d1. Almost needs to be played.
6, queen c2, yeah, knight d4. Christopher sees something there. Oh no. Rook 81, F4, G4, F5. Unbelievable. Wins the queen.
Wow. I mean, Danny, what are you supposed to do? What are you supposed
This
to do
is
against stuff like that?
unbelievable. This is insane. Look at this calculation. And it's not just you stumble into this. You give up your dark squared bishop, you make a positional concession, you have to see the whole thing.
He saw the whole thing.
That makes it so much more impressive. And he saw it quickly. He's got over 2 minutes. And another strike is on the cards here. Still has to be careful. That pawn on G4, the king is weak. But you can drop the knight back to G3 and go rook F2 and consolidate easily. If I'm Hans, I'm resigning this.
Yeah, it's so tough to let go of games like this. It's a real concession, but match strategy, it has to be correct.
Yeah. You got to weigh the chances of a combat. That doesn't mean you're giving up to the con. No, just I think you can play GF rook F5 and then play bishop D3 at the end. Okay, plays bishop D3 immediately. Also good. The game is over. Rook moves to E1. F1.
Name it, find the pieces that are not attacking F5.
Yeah, Hans is very frustrated. You can kind of tell it's written.
Understandably, I would be so frustrated dealing with a player that seemingly never blunders and catches every single one of your blunders.
He sees every. I would be cycling through all of my tilt phrases. He sees everything.
Yeah.
Slam the desk. He's basically a god. I just can't compete with him. And of course he finds it. And of course knight takes F5, but of course he'll find it. And of course these IMs, of course he finds it.
Crazy.
I would be out of my mind now. Hans, you can tell he's still determined. He's focused. He doesn't give up easy, but man, you're down by 8 points.
Is that also
3-minute portion winds down?
Like you mentioned the sort of resilience and stubbornness of these young players. And I think it's generally an asset, but sometimes in situations like this, maybe a downfall. Not having the ability to resign just mentally. Like of course they're playing on as much as possible. That was maybe 1.5 to 2 minutes that maybe didn't need to happen, could still be on the match clock.
For sure. And it's not a big deal, but I think that's an interesting little point there, some reverse psychology. And Hans changing tack here, and bishop b4 check king d2. Yeah, this is a pretty well-known line where the king is forced out because you cannot block the check due to knight e4. But in return, white gets the 2 bishops. I've always liked this for black. I guess Hans can go rook c1 to king f1, though. Maybe white playing for a small edge here. 8-point lead as the 3-minute segment enters its final quarter. Oh, what have we seen here?
Great move as well, c5. Not content with a move like c6. Very solid. Generally, when your opponent's king is smack in the middle of the board, you do not want to be playing, more solid closed moves. The move c5, for better or for worse, is going to work out better in the long run just because it's going to be more tactical and more difficult for the white king on e2 to deal with.
Right. And Christopher, I think, has just made a bit of a sloppy move because now if you go after the c pawn, white has this b4 move. That's unusual for the queen to be on b1, so maybe Christopher hasn't fully accounted for that. But one other mature thing Christopher does is when he recognizes that he's made a mistake, he takes a long time and he figures out the best way to mitigate the damage.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a5, I don't know.
Yeah, a5 seems like a very reasonable attempt here. dc4, maybe not the best move, but certainly a move that I would probably play, having realized queen a5 is no good.
Yeah, Hans going for the natural knight e5. I guess queen c7, knight takes c4. Well, then queen takes c5 is possible. White black is okay here, I think.
Right.
It's fine.
If you
not great, but fine.
If you can snag the pawn. So maybe white just goes like, I was going to say rook c1 or queen c2. Can't take the pawn because of bishop b7. And now white plans to play takes on c4.
Takes, queen c4.
Nice move. This is definitely an advantage for white. I think a clear one now that the dust has settled.
Yep. This is a huge advantage. And if Christopher doesn't take the pawn, b4 comes. So e5 is a good practical move, though. What you don't want to do is look too much at the clock. Like you want to play as if the match has just begun. Like I said, you want to push this lead up to 10, if possible, before the bullet to give yourself a really big cushion.
And I was going to say, I don't think you can take this one because of cb7.
Guess rook a8 he's going for.
Queen c6, or I guess rook c1 is possible too.
Mm-hmm. Queen c6, maybe queen e5. Yeah, he goes rook c1.
Good
Queen
move, I think.
d6. Yeah, I agree. Queen d6, queen c6. Stumped yet,
Maybe queen
offside
d7.
chances.
I like queen d7 for like queen g4 check or
about
queen b5 check, but he's going to get the
c1?
queen over to
Nice.
h6.
Can you play? No. I was looking about some like queen takes c8 ideas or rook c8, but no.
Ooh.
Hans, he has really struggled to convert precisely these types of positions. And again, Christopher, he's stopping the pawn from the h2 square. Hans continuing to milk this position.
I feel like Hans is treating this well so far.
Yep. Rook e4, potential idea, but don't blunder b2.
A4 and b4 and a5 would be the, like, hey, if my opponent's not threatening something, those are the moves I'm doing.
Right. Rook c2. Rook f6, rook f4 is the idea, so that b2 is protected. Good prophylaxis here by Hans. G5 is interesting. We both thought of it at the same time. Our mind worked in exactly the same way. We want to prepare rook f6.
Yeah, you just got to make a threat. If you're black here and you're dealing with a pawn on b7, you're objectively lost, but the more threats, the better.
Okay, rook e6. And what about, rook f7, rook f7, rook c8, rook e8. He's muddying things up.
Yep.
Okay, that's a good move. Does he take on e4? Is that anything? Queen d6, nice move. Just holding the fort here is Christopher.
Yeah, he says, hey, take me. You want to trade pieces, right? Getting ready for f takes e6.
No, I'm not playing queen e5. I'm making some lift probably. Time is ticking down here. This game is taking, he repeats it. Taking a long time as Hans to convert, and for good reason. Christopher is playing brilliantly here to defend this position.
So annoying.
Yeah, he is.
So annoying.
Rook g6, another nice move. Attacking the queen.
I think queen f3 is the best. Gotta go back. Maybe there's some consideration for this position with a rook on e6. You go bishop h3 and then rook c8.
Still rook c8 is a potential idea, but b2 will hang. Hans has made very little progress other than to milk Christopher's clock down.
King g1. Ooh, I was gonna say king g1 was progress there, I feel like. King g1. Go king g1.
King g1, excellent job by Hans. Wait a second.
The pawn is hanging now.
Oh my god!
It's hanging.
Oh, my lands. I can't believe it.
Unbelievable.
He's stolen this from the jaws of defeat, literally. The jaws of defeat on b7. He's taken it, he snagged it, he's stolen it.
There was like 5 different moves previously. Queen was on like e5, d6, g5, f6. I was like, king g1, king g1, king g1. And he plays queen e7. I'm like, yeah, okay, same thing. And he remarkably just finds that perfect moment. He snags b7. He's got every chance here to draw/win. Yeah,
if he wins this, that'll be next level. But I'm not playing for a win if I'm Christopher. I'm making the draw and running with this game.
Yeah. The interesting thing about Chris is I feel like he's such an objective player, very practical. So I never feel like he's playing for a win. I just feel like he's playing the best moves, or he's always trying to. And if that propels him to a win, then sure, he's there to take it. But he's just going to play the position of the best visibility and take whatever result comes.
And I think one hallmark of the young generation is this sort of de-psychologizing of the game. I think even when I was growing up, I was instructed to always factor in the psychology. Maybe this game you want to make a draw because you were previously losing, blah, blah, blah. And the next game, up by 8. Mm-hmm. I think the younger generation now, it's not that they don't think about that. Of course they do, but not to the extent that it dominates their decision-making. They, above all else, are allegiant to finding the best move. And Andre now is finding the best move.
Oh my God.
Rook a6, and Christopher makes it again. Precise.
How does he do it? He's so good. End. 1 second on the clock. It's amazing. He does it every time.
And again, I'm milking the clock if I'm Christopher. I'm declining a draw here with black.
You should.
But okay. And milk another minute.
He's too, I was going to say, he's too principled.
He's too objective.
Yeah, it's just like, it's a draw. Okay, we make a draw.
Yeah. Another Ponziani. This is the most Ponzianis we've ever seen in an SEC match.
And I don't mind it. You know, there's always like a theme in every SCC match. There's always one main opening that gets repeated over and over and over. Two stubborn players, neither one willing to shy away, and maybe both players content with their positions. And this is that one for this matchup right here, the Ponziani.
Wow. Christopher, you know, I remember I used to teach a class in San Jose, California. Where Chris still lives for you know, for talented young players. This is every Saturday morning, and Chris attended that for about a year before he got too good for the class. And I would always start with a warm-up study just to get everybody in the headspace. And you know, while I guzzled down my coffee because it was 9 a.m. start on Saturdays, and I totally was not doing anything on Friday evening in college, ever. Totally wasn't.
No.
Anything? No, God forbid. But basically, you know, Christopher, he knew about 75% of the studies that I had chosen. I was deliberately choosing these obscure Troitsky studies, and you know, I was scouring the internet, and when he didn't know it, he was grasping the theme in about 5 seconds, and it was sight to behold. I mean, he was just such a standout, and this was like many years ago. He was tiny, and Christopher was, and he's such a nice kid, and he was absolutely adorable.
Those are the scariest, aren't they? The adorable kids who are also insanely
absolutely.
talented.
They are the assassins.
Yeah, truly.
But Christopher has got his back against the wall once again. As Hans, I mean, everything is possible in the bullet. They will play at least how many games? 12 games, 13 games, probably closer to 10 games.
I feel like there's a very high volume, that's for sure. So high volume of games overall in this match.
Yeah. So if you're Hans, you basically have to bring it. I mean, if you can win the next two, the lead is quote unquote only 6. Like, imagine Hans wins the next two. It's a 6-point game. It almost feels like it's one of those 50-point games in basketball, but it's not. And let's see if he can convert the small advantage that he has right now in the end game. White with a pawn, weak pawn at d3, but it almost feels like Christopher cannot lose. He feels like I'm looking at the position black is better, but Christopher has been totally invulnerable and immortal in such as some of these positions.
No, it's amazing. I like the move b5, by the way. Pawn on a light square, and then covering the c4 square, and then to the exact opposite effect, I'm not a fan of a5.
No, I really don't like what he's just done. I mean, he wants control of these dark squares, like maybe get the knight around to c5. I think he's still maybe better, but not by much anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Knight c2, and if knight b7, then maybe d4.
I think knight c2, e4 is going to happen.
Ooh, you're
or
absolutely right.
At least it should happen.
Okay, knight f3. And e4 looks very, very good here.
I think that if white gets to play e4, then I might start to really enjoy white's position. You know, like the idea of a knight on d5 is so tempting.
Right.
Okay. It's covering everything here for the moment. Black's knights just lack that. I mean, he's going to go knight f8, knight e6.
Maybe c5 here. c5, bishop takes a5. Okay, he goes e4. I don't like that at all. I guess knight b3 and c5, though. No, I do like that. Never mind. He's got to go c5, though. I've always said it was good. No, knight e6 you don't want to allow, because then black clamps down on all these dark squares permanently. I think you got to go c. Wow.
But if you bring a bishop to e3, you never let him occupy those squares.
I guess it's a fortress. That's what he's saying.
Rook d2, rook d1.
Okay. I guess.
Actually, yeah, he's going to go rook f1. And then the question is c5. Like, how good or how bad is c5? Because I think it's coming next. Black nearly has to play knight c5 himself.
C5 well, you nailed it. Christopher is objective. He's not just going to stay put here. He's playing for the advantage. He's playing for a win. He's doing a darn good job of it.
Bishop f2, idea, bishop e1 in the future.
Ooh, and rook c6, rook c1 also on deck, potentially, although the knight on e6 is doing a hero's job here. Whoa, b6. Wait a minute. Knight takes c5. Rook c5. I don't know.
I like the idea to keep the knight from Hans. He's up a minute. He's got the knight. We know how tricky the knight can be. And I think he's going... Okay, I was Not sure if he's going to go
B3,
rook
rook
check.
B1 though. No. Hans messing this up completely. Rook B1 and bishop C3.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Oh, knight D2. No, he's not. He outcalculates Christopher here. Wow. This is the idea. I completely missed this. And rook C7 Christopher should have played. That was the key.
So I thought bishop C3, and okay, he's of course going to find it now, is this whole idea, but I thought knight was just stuck and you'd have to go in a bunch of trades, but he's outsmarted everybody.
Yep. And this is still a lot of work still required as the match clock hits 3.5 minutes or so. Hans, of course, is winning. And this would be a huge win for him. If he wants a miracle comeback, it has to start with catching the momentum at the end of the 3-minute portion here. As they're going to play one more game after this one. First of all, he's got to take this to its conclusion.
I love the move rook a2. If he can play rook a2, I feel like it's over. Okay, looks like maybe all you could do. Rook a2 coming.
It should be 2 maybe. Still rook a2. You give up e5? No, maybe not. Christopher. Fighting. G5, king g4. Man, he is just making it so hard on black, even in this position.
Yeah, I mean, rook b8 was there instead of e4. Kind of a missed opportunity, but I think he's got it sorted out.
He does. Game is over. And a win for Hans, a big one.
And
bringing the lead down to a
game.
mere 7.
So, hey, you called that 6 would maybe be the best case scenario, and it's possible. This is going to be the last game, barring a super quick draw or something. There's only 2 minutes and change on the match clock, and hey, we have seen this position before. It's a good try for Hans, although if I'm honest, I liked his positions better when he was going bishop f4 and just developing around that.
For sure, but still, this is an edge. And, not to keep making sports references, but, in basketball, you often see this lead has team has a huge lead, 30 points. And then it's like the coach often says, the best coaches, they don't tell their team, you have to cut down the lead in the first 5 minutes. No. They make these intermediate goals. Let's get it. You often hear this when coaches are hot mic'd. Let's get the lead down to 10. Let's hit 2 3-pointers at the end of a quarter. Because that lead psychologically of 15, it feels amazing when you get it from 0. But when you're up by 30 and you're down to 15, the trend is moving in the opposing direction. So it's all about the trend. And you want to borrow that mentality here. Fight for one more point. Don't think about how many points you have to recover in the bullet. You'll get to that.
Yep. That's why you hear the cliche in in interviews with athletes all the time. So what's the plan? And he's like, oh, just take it game by game. And it's like, come on, buddy, give me something to work with.
Exactly.
But it's actually, of course, very good advice to follow.
Yeah, John Smith at the Dallas News. LeBron, what's stuff? What is your strategy for coming back from this match deficit? And Hugh Greg Popovich just getting ready for Cincinnati. I guess that's Bill Belichick just getting ready for Cincinnati tomorrow.
Looking to build off, teammates looking to build off each other, and just everyone's doing great.
Yeah, Tom Brady's passes, looking to score a couple touchdowns.
And as long as your words are unintelligible, you're a very, very good player.
Yeah, exactly. We're on Cincinnati. Do you know that meme?
The LeBron one?
No, the Bill Belichick
one.
We're on to Cincinnati.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that one.
Yeah, that was a hilarious one. Okay, Hans is better.
Yeah, I was just gonna drop into this position and be like, all right, White's better. Hot take, White is better. However, he is going to get this trade happening. Maybe queen d2 or queen f3, like just let it happen on your own terms. Bring your queen to e3 and then maybe to d4 later.
Yeah, exactly. Keep on.
I am less of a fan of a rook on e3 than I am a queen. Plus, I think that rook probably belonged on f1 to maybe propel that f pawn forward. So I think overall, black has to be pretty stoked about this position.
Yeah, somehow those pawns looked incredibly imposing at first. Wait a second, what is that? Rook takes c5. That's a free one, and that is a meltdown here for Hans.
Well, it really is, because rook e8's like, okay, I'm going to attack your center pawn. And
Okay, move.
it's not defended. I'm going to grab it.
Yeah, Hans didn't see the bigger picture there. He moved the rook away from the pin, but a little bit of tunnel vision there. And H4, oh, there's the F4 square. And it looks like Christopher has this entirely under control. If Christopher wins this one, that is a devastating loss because you have a tiny bit of momentum and the lead will be pushed back to 8. Everything's possible in the bullet, though. Nobody go anywhere. Oh, man, bishop F1, bishop takes F5, I guess.
Yeah, bishop F5 is just the move you lament to see. So accurate. Bishop F4 is hanging. However, rook is hanging now on C2. And I think if queen takes B7, okay, I thought maybe he'd go queen B7.
This is the game.
I was just checking the clock. Yeah, it has expired. So that this will be 100% the last game of the 3-minute portion. So we only have bullet after this. And I mean, you may as well play this if you're Hans. No point in resigning because it's a live game and there's no match clock to burn.
Yep. Yeah, 8 points, 30 minutes, a lot of games to play, 10 games to play. And without a doubt, I mean, Hans knows that
F6 is a ruthless move.
That is so ruthless. He sees queen e6 and he's like, no, I don't care about the rook. I'm taking the bishop with check and then vacuuming up the pawn and simplifying. Jeez.
It's the last move you want to see because you're probably playing queen e5 thinking, okay, if he plays f6, I have queen e6. And then he plays f6 and you're like, wait, don't I have queen e6? And then you slowly start to appreciate what's happening.
What you just highlighted, I hate when that happens over the board. Like that excitement, you're losing. And then you have this very brief excitement. Your opponent's blundered. Oh my goodness, I'm going to turn this around. And then you realize that no, your opponent saw the quote unquote trap and outcalculated you. And oh man, he's not missing that either. Darn. D4 coming. It's over.
Yeah, he's walking that pawn all the way home. And Hans says, you know what, I've had enough. He says, I've had enough of that position. He's obviously frustrated. I think he has what is going to be his favorite time control coming up because it's going to suit his playstyle the entire match the most. But if Chris is as accurate as he has been the whole match, I don't think there's anything he can do about it. You know, when your opponent's playing that well and it's not your day, there's not much to do. But he's going to have a whole 30 minutes of bullet chess to try to figure that out. And speaking of, you know, all the amazing moves we've seen from Christopher this match, Dania, we do have another video prepared for those subscribed here on the Chess Twitch channel, twitch.tv/chess. You can use Prime to get subscribed. Lots of ways to do that, but we're going to have lots of sub-only videos. So take a look at Christopher Yu's best moves before we come back with more bullet chess.
Funmaster Mike here to show you another Junior Speed Chess Championship player's best move. And here we have International Master Christopher Yu taking down the new Webster coach, Grandmaster Le Quang Liem. In this position, not only is white down a piece, but white is facing checkmates on g2. And if you play a pedestrian defensive move like queen to d5, well, the queen's going to take and you're going to get mated on h2. So we need a tactic that's also sort of a simplification, defensive, liquidation, all of that in one. And the only way for white to survive or get an advantage, the box move, as we say, is queen f6 check. Now, the king has 2 legal moves, and it actually doesn't matter which one the king chooses, because if the Grandmaster plays king to e8, we will actually force the king back to where we want him to go. We will play, well, I won't play anything, but Christopher, you would have played queen h8, and you can't play king to d7 because, whoopsie, knight f6 check, you don't want that to happen. And after king to e7, we play queen to f8 check, peekaboo, we came around your castle, and when the king moves to this square, we're going to play the same tactic that was played in the game. Again, we're not going to play it. Christopher's going to play it. What is that tactic? Well, let's go back and show you what actually happened in the game, which is the king went straight away, and it doesn't matter if the queen was on f8 or if the queen's on f6, the same tactic happens, which is, well, you know it. Queen takes bishop, clearing out the f6 square, and after knight takes, knight check, the king moved to the square e6, and knight takes queen. Not only has white gotten rid of all of the attack on the king, white has recovered the piece and achieved an endgame with 3 against 1 on the king's side. Could I beat Le Quang Liem in this position? No. but for a player of Christopher's ability, it was not hard at all. This H-pawn, Harry ran up the board, and in 17 more not-so-exciting moves, Christopher got the job done. There you go. International Master Christopher Yu's best move. I'm sure he'll play some more in his match today.
ChessKid is fun. Chess is great for the brain, but it's also fun to play. And ChessKid makes it easy to have fun. Whether your child is a total beginner or a prodigy, they can hop on and find a well-matched opponent from around the world at any time. ChessKid is the safe, parent-approved way for your child to play chess online. ChessKid is educational. To kids, it feels just like playing, but chess is a great way to learn patience, strategy, and critical thinking. ChessKid features a comprehensive training program that guides kids to level up on their way to mastery. This curriculum is designed to work with Common Core standards and global educational guidelines. There are more than 50,000 chess puzzles and a whole library of entertaining videos that teach strategies, tactics, openings, and endgames specifically for kids. ChessKid is easy. Whether you're a parent helping your child, a coach managing dozens of kids, or a school of hundreds, ChessKid helps you organize your students and monitor their progress. Each child receives a weekly report card that shows how many lessons, puzzles, and games were completed. You can also organize kids into clubs and send them messages. ChessKid is the online home of scholastic chess for thousands of kids, parents, schools, and coaches. Signing up is free and easy, so what are you waiting for?
And before we get into the exciting conclusion, which will be the 1+1 portion of this JSCC matchup, I want to remind everybody about the ChessKid Adventure app. Download the app now and subscribe. You'll get full access to ChessKid as well. That's 2 memberships for the price of 1. So basically get in there and find a fun way to learn chess and enjoy yourself at the same time. $39 a year. Dania, well, that sounds good. Hopefully we maintain people's attention just for this last 30 minutes, because if there's one person that truly has a chance to swing a match with this deficit back around, based on the way he's playing and the speed at which he's playing, it's got to be Hans Niemann.
Yeah, I mean, he has the speed, and the great thing about the speed is that that's going to result in more games played. One has the sense he's not going to use his entire min in most of these games. And if you were to engineer miracle comeback, the first step is to make Christopher nervous. Right now, Christopher is playing with such confidence. You feel like he's not going to lose a game. Got to make him nervous, whether that takes 2 or 3 games. Get it to a point where Christopher starts checking the match clock nervously, and that results in more blunders and mistakes. Let's see if Hans can get off to a strong start. That is his only chance. He basically has maybe at most 1, maybe 2 games that he can drop with a bullet, and he cannot drop them immediately.
Exactly. So the pressure's on as we get underway, and immediately things change. And I think things have changed for Hans here. He's got a different opening altogether, more or less same style of position, though, with the C3, D3, and E4 structure.
Should be 3. Both sides making their position. It seems like White's probably slightly better here. A4 is an idea. Christopher calculating and executing D4. Opening up the center, forcing Hans to think. Ooh, knight takes C5 there looks
good. Right.
Okay, knight takes C4 also looks good.
He's spoiled for choice, as if a bishop ends up on E4, it's knight C5 as well.
Yeah, and he might play it. Christopher deciding to keep things simple. He's fine with the draw.
Exactly. Doesn't
and
need to get
knight
fancy
C5
here.
Yeah, he decides on stable approach.
Bishop
G7.
I think he's just like he knows what he needs to do. Basically, there were some options there that if he was down 8 points, believe me, he'd be playing knight C5.
Oh, but, yeah, he would.
Yeah, in his position, there's no need to complicate things.
I don't love what he's doing. I feel like he's slightly worse here. But only slightly. I mean, we saw something like this in the second game where that kind of set the tone for the match. The one where Hans play was playing incredibly well, and then they had that study-like draw. Here, it feels like he's got that initiative. Christopher is doing such a nice job just stabilizing everything. Now rook to 5, jumping into the center. This game taking a while, too.
Yeah, you can take that, bring the bishop back to F3, or just play A3 right now.
Whoa, that's a blunder. Bishop takes D5. And queen F6, king F6, he blunders a piece.
Rook takes C7.
Oh, this is also winning. No, but rook takes D7. This is just over. Christopher just blundered a piece.
Oh, sorry. I thought you said bishop D5.
Oh, sorry. No. I did say bishop D5. I'm just dumb. Of course, rook D5 is the move. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bishop D5 would have dropped the rook. That's right. That makes sense. And Christopher doing a good job. He has to play this out 3 minutes off the clock, and a win for Hans.
Exactly what the doctor ordered.
It really is. And Christopher, I think he played a little too cautiously there. I think he played a little bit too timidly, and that's not his style. He is an objective player, but he continues to hold out the game here and prolong it.
Right.
I would do something dirty here to just put the queen on pre. Bishop queen E4, and take the queen, build up some clock, and milk it.
Yep. King E5, be annoying.
Milk 10, 15 more seconds off that clock. And play until checkmate. If you're Christopher. He's milked almost 4 minutes off of one game. Yeah, so he wants to pre-move about 10 more moves and then sit for 20 seconds. That's the bottom line. One move away from checkmate, you want to sit.
Ooh, no, he needed to play King E1 there.
Yeah, but he's going to sit it out. Very nice. Very nicely done by Christopher, milking 4 minutes for one game. He's got to win faster than that. That literally is going to almost leave not enough time. Even if he wins all games at this pace, he might tie.
Yep.
But a win for Hans. The lead down to a mere 7. Another win required here for Hans.
Okay, we've seen this opening before. I think in Bullet, whatever Hans has been doing is going to work way better in Bullet.
Yeah.
I wonder if Chris is going to manage to be just as accurate. Because if he is, this match is dead. But Hans is feeling it right now. You get that initial win, you're just absolutely beaming with confidence, and that's exactly what you need.
Coming out to F4. I really don't like this choice in Bullet for Black because White's play is so easy. And we saw Chris was winning some of those games. It was very laborious, knight A5, you've got to calculate. White doesn't really have to calculate. White can play very intuitively, queen H4. And I already think White's winning here.
H6, snap take.
No right, just take it pre-move. Bishop takes H6. Knight E4, good move by Christopher, trying to throw water onto the fire. This is an important game for Christopher not to lose, I think. 2 in a row. He's never won in this entire match. That's saying a lot. That is an insane stat, you know. When you haven't won 2 in a row in a 3-hour match, you know things are going wrong.
Yep. That's
Somehow
why the lead is what it is.
he stabilized the position, but okay. But now, of course, white is much better than 95. Again, queen f7, 97, but again, black is fine here.
I think, yeah, this is actually pretty dangerous.
Raw.
97, queen e6, knight f8 on tactic.
Whoa, rook e5, he blunders a piece. Does Hans. Oh, man. Whatever chances he was just seeing.
He's got to toss that game immediately.
But 6 minutes off the clock, and that might have just been the match right there.
Yeah, I think it might have been in some way. Maybe not explicitly, but it's a brutal dagger to your momentum.
But basically, Hans has to win every single game from now on. He cannot take a single loss in the next. Oh my God! What was EF? What was that? You got to take with the bishop there. Oh my lands! This is
habitual, maybe. Oftentimes, you do get this position with pawn takes, but yeah, it's just he has to play so quick that he can't even almost process his opponent's moves. Like he can barely even register what's hitting the table.
Right.
It's just it takes.
Exactly.
And there he goes. Yeah.
H4, H5 is good for white. Queen C5. Knight C6 though. I don't like CD by Christopher. That gave the C6 square to the knight.
Yeah, I get the feeling that he's really going for the safe approach.
Oh my God, and rook e7 looks crushing here.
Yep.
Or b4, also good. Queen e7.
Queen e7 is nasty. There's also a weird move, bishop e8 coming after that.
Gosh, I don't know. But now you take, and if rook c8, then I guess you play. Oh no, he plays rook e8. Look at Christy, he's still precise, Aman. Even in the bullet, he's not missing much.
Fantastic decision by black. Queen takes e8. I'm a big fan of that. I know it's it's not very inspiring, but I will say I think that's the right decision. Otherwise, you'd be down a pawn in a queen and knight endgame. There's no point in playing that for a win.
Right.
There's no g4.
Yeah, this is it. If Christopher wins this, it's a 9-point lead, and a6, and the pawn promotes basically a7. Neither of the knights can attack the pawn. One is pinned, the other is circumscribed fully by the queen. White's knight is coming over, maybe even just c5. I don't know.
Here comes queen b7, and you're gonna try.
Yeah,
you're gonna try, but it's nothing. It's just nothing.
Queen b7 is a very simple move. Knight d6, maybe. You can even play king g1 here if you want.
Yeah, just humiliation that hey, you can't even go rook a1 for multiple different reasons.
There was a funny line, king h3, rook b3, and of course you're winning here probably still with f2, but if you take on g4, knight h6 is checkmate. That was literally the only way to lose the game.
Yep.
Wow, what is this? Bishop g5, h6, bishop f6. That is a bit of a tilt opening right there.
It's a tilt opening, 100%. It's not what you want. Bishop takes c3, probably going to happen here. And if you have to take with a pawn, d6, b6, I mean, black is solid.
Right.
Very solid. Knight a5 even, just trade.
Yeah, this pawn structure often d5. This still looks nasty. That e3 pawn is weak. Pawn's still playing so fast he can't keep up.
Yeah, just literally doesn't even see which piece gets moved by black. He sees his pieces and where they're going. That's all he needs.
Yeah, and at this point, you got to play for pride. F6, you got to do it. G6.
Chuck it in there.
Queen F6, though. Bishop D5, probably.
Mm-hmm.
Black and knight.
Or bishop G4, maybe.
Yep, and then knight D5.
Yep, or knight E6. I was thinking.
Christopher is playing so positionally. Oh, queen H4, knight G6. Takes queen H4 is even possible, maybe.
Yeah, here comes E4, E5. Surely E4, E5 is at least a decent shout. Queen B3.
Knight F5. Wow. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that in terms of the quality of play by Christopher,
Yeah.
this is one of the best matches that we've ever seen. One of the best JCC matches.
I
Some of
think
these games are classical level good.
I think that's indisputable. And yeah, he's winning so many of these games that he's not just putting this match out of reach because of his lead, but he's even showcasing that in the 1 minute portion, he's also jumping ahead, like just simply in the 1+1 section.
Yeah, this is crazy. And he's not winning the Super Bowl Eli or Peyton Manning style. He's winning by 40. He's not relying on his defense.
Yep. And these are pre-moves, by the way. F5, F4, G5, H5, G4.
And the Bad King's Indian here, CD and Knight B5. Hans. Yeah.
He knows
King
that
H1 is a
as
nice
well.
move.
He sort of needs to pre-move, so I understand where he's coming from with the moves and the speed at which he's playing.
Right. G3, Bishop G1, and Bishop. Yeah, Hans going Knight H5, Knight G3 here. I'm surprised Christopher took the pawn on H2. Generally, Bishop F2 is better.
Right?
And
Keep the H file closed.
yeah.
Well, there's a D6 pawn for someone.
All right, Knight G3 is coming. Ugh. Hans doing a good job here. I wouldn't take that knight. Oh, he does. No. Got to be very careful. That queen comes to H4, it's over.
It's amazing.
King H8 here. King G8 looks good.
I would probably never take that. Like I would never want to have to play bishop takes G3 in a million years.
Oh yeah, and Christopher maybe engineering some sort of escape with the king.
Yeah, queen moves
But
somewhere.
look, H1 is a threat, and queen H8.
We need the queen. There it is.
Oh, now no, that doesn't work. Hans, king F1, king E2, unbelievable.
Yeah, it's just not enough. Obviously, he's got to play it, but it's not enough. Knight F5, probably.
Yep.
And white is like one move away, and there it is from, yeah, pretty much checkmate.
It's unbelievable what he's doing here.
Queen F7. Has to be good.
I think it's probably mate.
King G3.
Oh my god, this is a classic King's Indian position. When the King's Indian goes wrong, it's so funny because, oh my god, you cannot. Oh yeah, you can't. What am I saying? Rooks are doubled.
Well, at that point, he's got so much material that it's like you don't even have to count the material value of black's pieces. Just count them numerically. It's like black has 6 things on the board. It doesn't matter.
Very hard to even keep. Yeah, when you can't count the amount of extra pieces you have, that's just never a great sign.
Yeah, you have more extra things than your opponent has things.
Right.
And I think Chris is putting away this match in a very convincing fashion. Not letting up in the bullet portion. Like, it's very easy when you have a big lead like that, and you were touching on it earlier, to think your lead is so unassailable when in fact it actually can be reduced in small chunks. But he's not having any of that. He's not even talking about reduction.
Right. Jeez. Just a night to do. Oh my goodness. Every game is like just going to Christopher's way. The fact that he's even winning the bullet, we both assumed, I think, Aman, that, okay, however the blitz goes, the bullet Hans will win. But no, Christopher is just as convincing.
Yeah.
He is an assassin.
And I think part of that is the understanding that he does need to play a little more risky, and he has to take risks that he might not want to take.
Oh, so, Rook D5 is merciless. Just same idea, giving back the exchange. And
it is.
Ugh.
Queen E1 takes E3.
Yeah, this is just over. Hans resigning another. He is on tilt here at this point. Who can blame him?
Yeah. An understandable, full tilt
lead
breach.
drubbing.
Basically half the time gone from the 1 minute portion, and
the lead has ballooned further.
It has.
Wow. Just incredible. We have an Italian Scotch gambit kind of situation. Go knight b8 here. Yeah, that's the theory.
Interesting. Knight e4, and classic 2 bishops, but the pawn structure is a bit deficient here for black.
Right. Wow.
F5 is the move you want to play. If you can get F5 as white, you're sailing. But black is stubborn. Was knight takes E5 available there, or?
Yeah, it definitely was, because the queen is undefended. But then maybe queen D7 and F5. Did he even see that? Are you kidding me?
It's knight takes E5.
C4.
Knight takes E5, queen D7, knight F3 first, and then take with the rook on D7.
Oh, wow, good catch. And knight F5, queen takes faces of
Oh man, queen F3 though, and take on F5.
darn. What is this? Oh, man, it's crazy. And
E4?
Christopher is at queen E4 and king H8. Ugh. The dagger is coming to G8, and Hans is going to win a game. Or is he?
He must convert this.
Yeah, he has to.
For pride, if nothing else, put away your wins.
If you lose this, then you can't win anything. C4, Christopher trying. He ain't giving up easy. That's for sure.
Never.
Why would you ever give up 13? Yeah, this one's over.
Very nice move E4 there, taking advantage of the multiple pins.
Yeah, you can basically take a knee, but he's not taking any knees. He's trying to win. Knight F3, Rook F3, still not over. You can see Christopher, he's not putting on a show. He's disappointed, and truly dedicated players, every single game matters to them. When they play an unfortunate or rough game, it doesn't matter what they're up. Afterward, he's going to be in the film room with his coach analyzing this game.
Yeah.
That's the level of dedication and perfectionism in a good way that you have to strive for to be as great as Christopher.
Yeah.
Wow. It's insane.
And it's tough. It's tough to play these matches when, with, let's say, 13 minutes left, as we've got right now, that, it's over, basically. Like, there's no catching up. And these are the hardest ones to play out, especially when your opponent is relentless. You're not even getting a few games near the end, splitting the points. He's actually continuing to beat you the way that he's been ahead the whole match.
Right. No, undoubtedly. H4, pawn is rifling down the board here. Christopher inducing weaknesses, getting the queen at F5. Hans stopping him. Yeah, and of course, who wouldn't be tilted, and it's not just tilts. Christopher was the better player of this match. There was no doubt about that.
Yeah.
Hans maintained his composure for most of the match. He was in the chat. He was confident. But, sometimes they just don't go their way. Sometimes they don't go your way. And while the score is surprising, as I said earlier, Christopher is already has an incredible pedigree. And the fact that he's as young as he is, I don't remember his exact age, is what, 13, 14? It's unbelievable.
And this is going to work out for black, no doubt, after queen D1.
Yeah. And it's a draw, isn't it? Perpetuale, check perpetual. And Hans, can I say something crazy? I think, and don't quote me on this, but not only has Hans not won 2 in a row, I don't know if he's even followed up a win with a draw. Like, this might be the first time that he wins and then does not lose the game after that.
Right.
Maybe there was one time when he made a draw, but that's crazy in and of itself.
Yep. Wow. I think, I'm just doing some checking for you to verify that. And it happened.
Look at you, I'm so dedicated.
It happened once. Yeah.
It's going to be the second time. Christopher is milking this clock down, but it doesn't matter. Hans is not going to make up 10 points in 10 minutes.
No, he's not. But, it's still like, he's sort of in the, right? He's got the adrenaline going if you're Christopher. Right. So when you know that you've got a lead and all you're thinking about is winning the match, like, yeah, you let the clock run down. You don't know the exact situation.
And I want to always remind people that it's not dirty. It's not unethical. This is a match. And when you've got a match, you've got to do whatever it takes to maximize your winning chances. That is your primary obligation. It is dirty not to do that, to not play for a win in every way that you can. And that's just my opinion.
Yep.
And Hans playing very quickly here, playing well this game. He's put together a nice stretch, but it ain't going to be enough as we hit the 10-minute mark in this fascinating match.
Yep, that's exactly right. And let's be fair. When you've built up such a lead the way that Christopher has, I think that in everyone's head, even if you do find it a little bit dirty, it has to be way less so in a match where someone's already built up such an impressive lead. It's like they've already put on a show. They've displayed that they happen to be the better player today. Whereas a match that might be separated by one, and you see people running on the clock, people are going to be much more offended by that.
Oh, definitely, definitely. That reminds me. One last sports reference, I promise. When you got to let the shot clock run down when you've got possession and the game has been decided. You let the 24-second shot clock run down. What you don't take a shot. And there have been a lot of brawls that actually stem from a hotly contested game where one team pulls away and then one player just kind of jokingly takes a shot. That is not liked by basketball players and coaches.
Yep. I wonder what the equivalent would be in chess. It's like, you don't win those games. You're not allowed to beat me anymore.
No,
Stop winning.
No. You got to lose. You got to be nice. You play to win the game.
What I have seen in chess is sometimes you'll have those matches and, hey, we got the World Cup, so it's a perfect segue into that because that's where you'll find them. But those tiebreakers where, let's say it's best of 2 games and one person wins 1 game, and then in the second game, they have a winning position and they'll offer a draw from their very winning position. And it's sort of like it's a bit of sportsmanship saying, look, I obviously I'm going to win this game. I'm going to give you a draw. Maybe you save some face or whatever. We get to leave handshake that I've won the match because you win 1.5 to half. And some players don't do that. They get their winning positions and they just want to win it, even though it's maybe not necessary. So I've seen that opinion before, but I still think it's not really the same thing.
Yeah, and in the classical segment, you see the same thing. I remember when Sam Shanklin beat Peter Leko, and Sam was back then below 2,600. Leko offered him a draw.
You're seeing the opening, and it's hilarious that H4 was played, and H5 was played immediately. Like it couldn't have been.
That's hilarious. They both came with that same idea, and maybe this is like the next hot opening right here.
On a dime, Christopher Yu was like, yeah, H4, H5, of course.
Not missing a bite. Hey, Christopher. And a little bit of fun in the match. Nothing wrong with that.
Time for your stories then.
Yeah. So 2 things. First, in the classical, you saw Leko was losing the second game with white. Sam won the first one. It was shocking. And he took a draw in a winning position, which is totally normal in a knockout tournament because your only goal, you're not playing for rating. You don't play the World Cup for rating. Yeah. You play to advance to the next round.
100%.
The second story is Ivanchuk was playing Giri in the last World Cup. This was more famous. Ivanchuk won the first game, and Vasily was having an amazing World Cup. And then in the second game, he basically has a winning position. This is like, I think, round 4 or 5, like Ivanchuk is playing Giri. And Anish offers a draw, and basically, this was on tape. Anish basically puts his hand out because he thinks that Vasily will take it, but Ivanchuk literally declines it, and you can see the shock on Giri's face. Ivanchuk is, of course, so in his own world and so pure in his artistic pursuit that to him, it was all about winning the game. The game ended in a draw anyway, but I would have never had the guts to do that. Never.
Yeah.
And Christopher H4, H5, HG. This is hilarious.
Yeah. Now they're at the point where everyone knows the match is over. So it's time for flag trivia time. Daniel, do you know what flag is beside Christopher's name?
Do I know what flag is beside Christopher's name? So let me log into Chess.com myself so I can see that we are experiencing some lag issues. So wait, don't tell me. I do have my geography in order. I know the capitals and stuff. So this would be embarrassing. 1 second. Don't tell me.
Good.
I'm clicking into it.
I'm okay at the capitals, but the flags are my bread and butter.
Okay, so. Can I make a guess? I'm going to make 2 guesses. I'm going to guess.
You're supposed to.
Sudan?
Okay, no.
Am I in the right continent?
Yes.
South Sudan?
No.
Burkina Faso?
And when I say you're in the right continent, I could be incorrect because this
Seychelles?
No. This might actually be like an island that I'm thinking.
Give me the first letter of the country. Give me the first letter of it.
S. This could be an
Suriname.
island in South America.
Is it Suriname?
No, but I believe now you're close. I think it might be an island in South America.
Senegal? That's a
No.
country in Africa.
No, but
Second
at this
letter?
point, that's still a fair guess. A?
Sao Tome and Principe?
Yeah. It's that
That's
one.
in Africa. Sao Tome and Principe.
Is in Africa? Okay, that was my
It's
first
two
instinct.
islands. It's a
but
country. It was
I didn't want to give you.
Africa.
Didn't want to send you down the the wrong path.
How dare you confuse that?
If
So,
you're like
yeah, South
guessing
America.
literally every country in Africa, and suddenly it's like just over there by
It's just not in
Cuba.
Africa. How dare you? I'm entirely
That would be the
offended at
worst.
that. Oh, rook c6 would have threatened mate with g4. That's hilarious.
Figured I'd save you.
No, ridiculous. Wait, is Christopher going to win this? What is Hans doing? G3? G3 wins. Or does it? No, it doesn't. Wait, c5. C5 wins.
I think it's the same vibe.
Christopher is just not missing a beat here.
Yep.
And Hans has lost his. I mean, at this point, how do you even motivate yourself to play seriously? And here we
I
go.
don't
What
know.
will we see this time? Will they just copycat each other? No. Okay. Ooh,
It's funny, they
Stanislav, very
actually.
professional opening.
Yeah, I was gonna say you sort of have these moments where you both play h4, h5, and then you have these moments where you both understand, like, okay, yeah, it's time to play one serious one, and then we'll troll the next
Right.
game.
Well, they played e3, e6. Like, should we troll king e2 maybe? I don't know. Let's transpose back into a slot. All of that. Very serious.
Yeah, they both have the same understanding. There's mutual here. Great position for white.
Yeah, this is an absolutely crushing performance. 14-point lead. This might be the most lopsided match we have had.
Yeah, certainly I would
JSCC.
say it's one of the most lopsided matches from a match that I didn't think would be a lopsided match.
Indeed. And if
That's
I'd
the
heard that
stat.
it was lopsided, I mean, I would put Hans as a favorite to
Right.
to achieve a lopsided match. No dig at Christopher, who is amazing, of course. But if you're looking at this from a on paper perspective, okay, you think Hans is the favorite. But Christopher he's a monster. He is also multi-talented. He does compose studies, and his father on his Facebook page does post some of Christopher's studies and compositions. Christopher is a master solver, and that that helps. The tactical vision, the filigree precision, the pinpoint accuracy, to borrow your phrasing, has been nothing short of breathtaking. This isn't Puzzle Rush. Nobody's tapping you on the shoulder saying, "Hey, Christopher, look for tactic here." And yet he has that mechanism in place, tapping himself on the shoulder.
Yeah. Which would be a great, yeah. Everyone needs a Christopher Yu to remind them when there's a tactic in the position.
Right. This is absolutely an incredible position. Yes, but okay. I don't even know what that is.
d4, rook f7.
Well, I think when you win, you win. When you lose, you lose. Okay.
Pretty good summary of this match right here.
Let me do an impression, and I wonder if you'll know who this is. Right. Try to build, but of course, after E4, I was entirely not convinced. Right, but okay, I will, of course, but only try to perform at good level. But I declined the draw with Giri. Who is that?
Yeah, it's like definitely I know it, so I know it's a very good impression. It's escaping me, so I'll need to think about this, but
Sure.
I can tell it's
That? Okay, I don't know if my impression came through.
But yeah, we might be a little behind. But yeah, I'm looking at the
I think
chat.
they're still on Sao Tome and
I'm looking at they're guessing a place in Africa, so I think we're a little
Yeah, we're a little bit behind.
Okay, that's hilarious. So who's this accent? Zimbabwe. Yeah.
Zimbabwe, yeah. Who's that accent? Should I give you the first letter of his last name?
Give me 30 seconds as we watch Hans's masterpiece here.
Yeah, this is amazing. Look at that. Oh, King D7. That's going to be the winner. I like how people in the chat are like Sao Tome and Principe, of course, as if I'm supposed to know what that flag is just offhandedly.
Yeah. Come on, buddy.
You're calling Suriname? You're going to get Suriname? God. Gosh, people are going after me. How dare you? That's a attempt to not know what the flag is. What ignorance, what deep, deep, abiding ignorance is showing. Jeez, look at that. Look at that game. This is a masterpiece, man.
Okay, what's the first letter?
I've shared a story about him.
Sorry, did you say it was the first or the last name? Or what is that letter?
Last name, first letter of the last name is I.
It's funny. The reason I think I know the answer is when you said Geary. When you
Right.
said Geary in his accent, I was like, I've heard that like 20 million times.
So who is it?
I can't think of it. And it should be really obvious. I is like,
Ivanchuk.
nobody's named I.
Ivanchuk.
Okay, I don't honestly think that was the name that my brain was searching for.
Really? Interesting.
But the high pitched should give it away. The high pitched kind of like.
Okay. But okay. Yeah.
I should have been watching the camera. Maybe you were fiddling with your eyebrows. That would have been a free one.
Or something other than my eyebrows, but I won't do it on camera. Knows. In any case, the match is over.
Yeah, I was gonna say the broadcast will conclude and
the finish line
before we get too carried away, as you know, understandably the players are basically just playing out the match clock. The match was already decided, 20-9.
I think in the
Well, Dania and myself are back, and we're joined by both of the players from today's match. That's Christopher Yu and Hans Niemann. I'll start with you. I know you must be a little frustrated with the result, and obviously the score ended up getting away from you in the end. But you know, there's a lot of ways to summarize this match, but we were particularly impressed by your speed, and then conversely, how Christopher was able to play with just seconds on the clock. Did you think more often than not that you were going to be able to either flag him or get a blunder out of him when you were putting him under this much pressure?
Are we having some?
You'd be muted.
Yeah. Christopher, can you hear us?
I cannot hear Hans.
Oh, hey Hans, can't hear you at the moment.
Hello.
Hey.
There we go.
I'm sorry about that. Yeah, that basically I was gonna say plugged in.
No worries.
At all the critical moments, I sort of just choked. And especially in those time scrambles. And I think there are a lot of moments where my emotions got the best of me, and I just couldn't get it together. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, Christopher, congratulations on an incredible match. We were impressed by several facets of your play, but particularly your ability to find crushing tactics at basically every critical juncture across the time controls. I have sort of two related questions. Just in general, to what do you kind of attribute that form? And do you feel like your experience composing problems and solving a lot of studies and doing Puzzle Rush, do you feel like that directly contributes to your ability to be an assassin in those types of situations?
I think so, but probably mostly doing tactics. Um, I think I was about as focused as I can be today. Uh,
Mhm.
so I was very zoned in and seeing a lot of things very quickly. So I felt like I could see all the tactics.
Yeah, definitely felt that way to us. Like as Dania said, right when it mattered, or basically whenever Hans had one little slip up, it seems like you would catch it. Hans, maybe thinking back to better memories, you've obviously come off a great result at the World Open, and congrats on that. Do you feel like somehow the board you maybe lose a little bit of your online chess ability, and sometimes they don't always go hand in hand?
I wouldn't say lose it. I just think, today I just can't really sort of explain what happened to me. I think this was probably the most uncharacteristic performance from me in a very long time. There is a point to be made that I've been focusing on classical chess. I haven't been streaming or playing on much blitz, so you could say I'm a bit out of form. But I think today, just everything, just a little thing that could have gone my way didn't go my way, and I need to get my emotions under control. So definitely in the World Open, you know, emotionally I was great and I was focused, but then here, those emotions can definitely take you both ways in terms of the polarization of your results.
Mhm. Well, I'm very curious about both of your tournament calendars. Hans, I'll start with you, and congrats on your tremendous recent successes. You just crossed 2,600 FIDE live. First of all, what is that feeling all about? How do you feel about that? And second of all, what's next on your tournament calendar?
Well, it felt great until about right now, and this result. It's cool and all, but I definitely am going to not forget this match for a very long time. But my next tournament is the U.S. Junior Championship, which Chris will also be playing him. Definitely going to get my revenge there and win that tournament to redeem myself, hopefully. And that tournament, and then after the U.S. Junior Championship, most likely the U.S. Open. After that, I'll probably go to Spain for a tournament. I'll be playing in the Serbian League on board one. So a lot of tournaments, hoping to make it into the U.S. Championship somehow. So yeah, 2,600 feels good, but winning this match would feel better.
Mhm. Christopher, what about you?
I'm also playing a U.S. Junior.
Small
I
event.
think a GM Norm tournament in Seattle after that.
Mhm.
Nice. And
Very nice.
Christopher, you also have your next matchup sort of confirmed as per this result. You'll be playing Ranak Sadwani. Don't know if you've played him online or even over the board as well, but any thoughts on that matchup upcoming?
Um, it should be tough. Yeah, he's like
As everything should be.
3,050 blitz and bullets, so
Yeah.
gotta be playing well.
Definitely. Well, I think if it's anything like your match today, you definitely have all the chances. I know we've both kept you here for longer than expected, so just want to say, Hans, sorry it didn't go your way today, but thank you very much for the match. And
Thank you.
Christopher, congrats again. It was a very impressive victory, and we were thoroughly impressed by your chess today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care, guys, and we'll let the players go. Well, we take a look at what that match means for the overall bracket. As you can see here, I mentioned Danny that Christopher, he moves on and he's got that matchup predetermined. He's playing Raunek Sadwani, and as we can see, the space is starting to fill in on this bracket as the matches start to conclude.
That's right, I'm on. And we still have Jeffrey against Denis Lazovic. That's a mouthwatering matchup. And Christopher will play the winner of that match. And the other match in the first round, Nihal against Cheka. That's going to be another very interesting marquee matchup. And after that, the first round will have concluded. JSCC has so lived up to its expectations and more so far. I can't wait until the last two matches. And this is just going to get more and more interesting. But Christopher, what a performance today. Echoing Hike's performance yesterday. We've just seen some amazing chess played all across the board.
Yeah, I mean, you're saying it, and I couldn't agree more. We are seeing blowout final results from not even not even just, incredibly strong players, like a guy like Hans. He said himself he's not going to really forget about a match like this for a while, despite so much recent success in chess, and that's how much it means to them. It's how competitive these players are. These young guys, they don't like taking a loss for any reason, and especially not one that's so out of character for them. So, yeah, definitely